Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 615 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, and it's a bit of a gray day here at the Beaver Lodge. The sky is completely covered with clouds, and I can actually see some almost like it's like the clouds almost like have ribs. You can see a whole bunch of ridges. It's kind of interesting here, the effect out the window. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver. Pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. We have a packed show for you today because a lot has happened and a lot will be happening today. But hopefully we'll be able to get through it all for you. But before we do anything else, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
When I wake up, I'll let you know.
When I wake up, I know I'm gonna be the.
I'm not awake yet. I'm really tired. I didn't sleep well, and yeah, I got a paper cut on the coffee filter when I was making coffee.
Oh, one of those days.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, I might just go back to bed.
My coffee filter gave me a paper cut. Had to take out the dog.
It's not starting out good, let's put it that way.
Oh, man.
I've never gotten a paper cut off a coffee filter in my life, and I've been drinking coffee since I was 14. Yeah. So
that's it. Day's over. Go back to bed. Pull the blanket over your head. We're calling this one early.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Oh, darn. I should not be laughing so hard.
Oh no, it's hilarious. It really, I'm like, I cut myself. I'm like, ow. That's funny.
Jeez.
Like, I don't. It's a paper cut, so it's not major, but
it's one of those things, right? You wake up, and the first thing you do is stub your toe or something like this. Paper cut, like call the day, man.
Well.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will not be coming into work today. I don't think I should be allowed near a toaster. I'll try again tomorrow. Thank you.
I think it's best that I just go back to bed and pretend that this didn't happen.
I have a feeling that if I turn the computer on, there will be a network breakdown. Hey, there are days like that, man.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Oh, man. All right. As you can tell, I'm doing relatively well. A little bit short on sleep myself, which is kind of weird, actually, because I've been sleeping a lot. And even had my clock has been off, I think, couple of nights ago. It was like before 9 p.m. And it's like I'm looking at my Beaver Sweetie says, you know what? I think I'm going to prep for bed. I'm really tired. So, of course, the following day I was up at 3 a.m., right? So yeah, yesterday had a bit of a nap in the middle of the day, which served me well, but it made for sleep broken into shifts. So the last shift was not as long by the time I fell sleepy again. So, but hey, it has not changed my sunny disposition. All right. So, okay, a couple of tidbits for you before we get into the meat of things, because there have been some big developments around the world. I think we might have touched on this a little bit. We did previously in the show, but I'm not sure if we touched on it yesterday very briefly. But in France, Marine Le Pen, the person who is the leader of the far-right Rallye National party, who is the opposition and definitely a far-right party, the party that pretty much Macron got everybody to get together, or I shouldn't say Macron got everybody to get together, but France got together and decided not to run candidates in certain districts to make it such that the Rallye National could not win. Well, as we had mentioned, she had been in court for embezzling EU funds and using them as party funds. And it seems that she has been found guilty. And even though she's got a 5-year sentence or something of the sort, there will be no jail time. She will be monitored, ankle bracelet, I assume, and that type of thing. But she is banned for running for any office for the next 5 years. Which means she cannot be the leader of the opposition in the next election. Very interesting that, of course, she's slamming the ruling and she plans to appeal. But yes, a 4-year prison sentence, which she doesn't have to serve any time in prison itself. And then a 5-year ban from public office. She says that she described the ruling as being a nuclear bomb launched by the system against her, or maybe you shouldn't have just embezzled money.
Maybe don't do crimes.
It's not rigged against you once you take money that's not yours for a purpose that it's not. That's your part in it. The fact that the system actually has rules doesn't mean it's rigged. But anyway, yeah, she is definitely not going to be able to run next time unless her challenges and appeals work. And it's funny that they can do it in Brazil when it's Bolsonaro, and they can do it in France when it's Le Pen or Sarkozy or whoever else. And France got a few of them, but they can't seem to do it in the United States.
Bummer news. Yeah, but Uncover the News just wrote it in the chat, and I just checked it online. Val Kilmer died.
Oh my.
Yeah, he was only 65.
Okay. Famous for Top Gun and Top Secret.
And Batman and...
Yes, yes. One of the
Top Secret was the first thing I ever saw him in.
Yeah, and that was funny.
Skeet surfing.
So yeah.
What would you like to drink, sir? I'll have the Ripple Blanc. It's like cheapest wine in the U.S. Yes. Would you like to smell the cap? He smells the cap of the wine. They pour a glass of wine into the cup, and it disintegrates.
Jeez. In the United States, Representative Cory Booker just finished a 25-hour filibuster in which he talked.
It wasn't technically a filibuster.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, technically it wasn't a filibuster.
No, it wasn't a filibuster. It was just a speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wasn't trying to block anything. He just gave a speech. Yeah.
So 25 hours, beating the record established by Strom Thurmond. A lot of people commenting on the web. It's really nice to see a black man take away one of those white records.
Yes.
For those who don't know, Strom was rather racist.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be polite about it. He was a piece of shit.
Yeah. He was one of those people that proved that only the good die young, because he lasted forever.
He was like 142 or something.
Jeez, something. He had one of those serving things on top of his head with 3 digits. Now serving 142. He just wouldn't seem to ever go away. But eventually he did. So Cory Booker did that. A couple of people gave him a hand by asking him a couple of questions, but essentially standing and 2 glasses of water is all he had. And for 25 hours he went. Also, for those who are looking for a little bit of peace, justice, and equality slowly breaking out around the world, there was a big vote yesterday in the United States, a state vote for the state Supreme Court in Wisconsin. And it would seem that it was a big one because if the more liberal judge won, the court would flip 4-3 towards the liberal side rather than maintaining on a conservative side. And it seems it was the Supreme Court election that had the most money spent on it, particularly from people from outside, particularly from certain billionaires who like to control speech. But their bid lost, and Susan Crawford defeated the Republican-favored candidate and became the Supreme Court judge in Wisconsin, which allowed the court to maintain its narrow majority, the liberal majority on the court. So some good news there for people who like justice and rules-based order.
Just checking it here. Strom Thurmond was 101 when he passed away. He was in office at the age of 100.
Yeah. But they were worried about Biden.
And this is a kicker. This is a kicker, okay? This is a picture of him in 1961. This man was born at 60.
Jeez.
Like, really?
Damn.
1961? Holy crap.
It seems that hate ages you really early at first and then preserves you for a long time.
So he was a senator for 47 years, but here's the kicker. He first ascended to office in 1933.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in politics for like 70 years.
He's literally a walking advertisement for term limits. At some point, 10 terms and you're out. Jeez, what's something?
He was a member of the Democratic Party from up until 1964, and then he joined the Republican Party.
Yep, 1964. Gee, I wonder what happened then. Again, when they keep on saying that, the Republicans are the party of Lincoln. That's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. And then
change over time, and in this case, yes, things changed.
Yes. And then also today, as you may know, the world is waiting with bated breath for all the cray to come from south of us, as it is whatever he calls it day. I'm not going to use that term because clearly it is not that. The day that you impose a whole bunch of wacko new taxes on your own people is definitely not liberation. It's something else. Can't find the word off the top of my head, but it's not liberation. That's for sure. I looked it up. Just to be sure that the word still meant what it still means today, what it meant ever since it was created. But yes, apparently this is not liberation. So we'll see what comes down the pike on that end. Of course, that's going to mean that whatever messages the leaders have today on the election campaign is pretty much going to be blown up. That might be why they probably don't have many messages today. Yesterday also, they didn't have many messages. There wasn't very many new announceables, a lot of rehashing of old policy and that type of stuff. I guess trying to keep the tables clear for what needs to happen today, because there's no point making an announcement yesterday because it's going to be wiped out with what happens today. Everybody's just talking about tariffs and what IQ 47 is going to do. And there's no point in having an announceable today other than how you can respond to what he's going to do whenever he's going to do it, because that's going to get lost too, right? So basically 2 wasted days on the campaign for anybody trying to get their message out because of what's going to be coming from south of us there, and possibly more depending on how bad it is and how people react.
Well, Trump keeps raging about how it's Liberation Day.
Yeah. And apparently he's been talking about us in the context of fentanyl again and all that kind of stuff. So who knows, right?
The fentanyl
but of course,
thing is just an excuse.
I know, it's just a pretext. But according to Mark Camilleri of the Canada-UA Trade and Investment Association, two-way Canada-EU trade is about $200 billion per year compared to Canada-US at $1 trillion. So there's lots of room for it to grow. About 70% of our exports go to the United States, and our biggest exports to the EU in particular are raw materials and potash. So there's a lot of room for diversification of trade there if there is any need for our products in Europe, especially if after today they find that they have the chessboard is shifted such that it would be more advantageous for them to buy from Canada henceforth than the United States.
So somebody recently told me that I was pronouncing the word potash wrong. It's potash, apparently. However,
I've only ever heard potash.
Yeah, and the CEO of Potash Corp pronounced it as Potash Corp. So I don't know. I don't know. I like to pronounce things correctly. I'm very pedantic when it comes to that, but I don't know what the proper pronunciation on this one is. So
yeah, in French too, I learned that one time. The post, that's in the ground. We all say poteau, and apparently it's poteau.
Right.
I just learned that the other day. Apparently, we've been saying it wrong the entire time.
Well, the one that kills me is I go to take a ticket from the parking machine in downtown Ottawa, and it says "Prenez votre ticket."
Prenez votre ticket.
Yes. Ticket. There's no
Stoppons les crimes.
Yeah.
That would. Yes, well, that was also like on Pierre Poilievre's sign the other day. He said it was like "stop the crime" or something like this, and then in French it was "stoppons les crimes," and then people are like "stoppons." It's like that's an Anglicism. It's like technically it's accepted in French according to the Académie Française, but in Quebec in particular, there was a big deal of taking the word "stop" off stop signs and replacing them with "arrêt" or having nothing on them whatsoever.
Do you recognize
so "stoppons" doesn't really work?
In France, the stop signs say "stop."
Yes.
In Italy, they say "stop."
Yes. But it was a big thing in Quebec. Like it was a cultural moment when it happened. So "stoppons."
The word "arrêt" apparently was created for that purpose.
Oh, well, there you go.
I was told that. I don't know that. I've never.
That I don't know. Yeah.
Validated
but so he has "stoppons les crimes." So "stoppons" is already not going to work with Quebec French, and then it's "le crime," not "les crimes." And then there was a photo taken of him kissing Anida right by the sign, and all I could think about, because, well, Petty's my favorite color. It's like, there go those heterosexuals again, stuffing their sexuality down all of our throats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he's kissing his wife next to a sign that says "stop the crime." The jokes write themselves, man. The jokes write themselves. I was just, I know it's petty. I know it's petty. Because, but these are the things I notice.
In other news, they've kicked out 3 candidates, right?
Yes, we will get to that. We will get to that. But apparently, you see, there's news. Conservatives. We talked about one. Well, let's get into it a little bit. They talked about one Liberal candidate, right? Paul Chiang, who they hung on to too long.
We went heavy into it as well.
Yes,
we didn't.
Who they hung on to too long, and then yesterday we found out one who broke on the show, then one a little later that afternoon, and then one in the evening. So they lost 3 in one day. So it seems to me that the Conservatives decided that, well, gee, since this stuff is not going to fly, we should probably go through people we should have vetted in the first place and see if there's anybody there. Now, the 3 that they let go, amazingly, none of them are Andrew Lawton.
Yeah, astonishingly.
So I think that there possibly might be more, or if there are not more, then Pierre Poilievre is going to find himself in the same situation that Mr. Carney was in later in the campaign, justifying why it is that those 3 had to go, but Lawton didn't. Now, not heard so much in the news is Liberals have actually lost a total of 3 so far as well. But they weren't very well known. So I believe in Calgary, they lost a candidate, if I'm not mistaken. can't remember off the top of my head here, but I'm going to look it up. Yes, in Calgary Confederation, they had to add a new name to the ballot. They have until the 7th to do that, but they've tapped Corey Hogan to run in Calgary Confederation after its previous candidate was quietly removed from the ballot last week. Up until Friday, Thomas Keeper was running for the Liberals in the riding of Calgary Confederation, but his name has now been removed as a candidate amid reports of an old domestic assault charge that was stayed but not disclosed to the party. So shades of Kevin Wong.
No kidding.
Right? So, but this was Friday, quietly done, didn't really make big news until, well, it was published yesterday.
It kind of should have made big news, though, I think.
Yes,
I personally feel.
Yeah, but it was only published Friday. It's April 1st. Yeah, it was not published Friday, published yesterday, but it happened on Friday. Then it seems that the Liberals also had to get rid of a candidate in Trois-Rivières. I'm not sure if this person had been nominated yet or was in the process of nominating, but they rejected the candidacy of Luc Galvani because it turns out that he had a past DUI that he did not disclose. And the party found out about. So they quietly did not approve him. So those are two. And then we had Paul Chiang. On the Conservative side, we had Mark McKenzie, who we talked to you about yesterday, who had made certain comments about being pro-public hangings, and particularly of then Prime Minister Trudeau. Then they lost a second person.
Isn't that a crime, though, to call for the...
It is.
Yeah, so how is he not charged and in shackles?
There should be a probe there, too.
When you call for the murder, what other word would I use here?
Summary execution.
Thank you. That's better. Much better. When you call for the summary execution of the head of state, well, technically he's not the head of state, that would be the Governor General. But when you call for the summary execution of a political leader, an elected leader, Prime Minister or otherwise, that is a crime. So why has this man not been arrested? Why has this not been investigated? Like, come on, RCMP, do your job.
Yep. Indeed. Then they had to let go of a man named Stéphane Marquis in the Montreal area, who he announced that he's no longer a candidate. Sorry, that's the Conservative Party. Yeah, we're in the Conservatives now. There's so many people dropping. He announced that he's no longer a candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada in the Montreal riding of Laurier-Saint-Marie. And if that riding rings a bell to you, that was the first riding in which ever a Bloc Québécois MP was elected, Gilles Duceppe, in a by-election. So due to recent posts he made on the social media platform Twitter. In a lengthy post written in both French and English, Marquis said he was called Tuesday morning by one of Quebec's operations managers for the party and told that, quote, certain people within the party found recent posts to be, quote, sufficient reason to end our political collaboration. The call lasted then less than a minute, he said. Quote, while by its own volition the CPC chose to abruptly cut loose a devoted ally willing to operate in a notoriously complicated political landscape, renowned nationwide as unjustly hostile to sound conservative opinions, the party in so doing desecrated the basic principle of the first of our natural rights, that of liberty, he said. Marquis added, opinion should be respected for both the individual associated with the party and thousands of citizens whose voice it represents. Publish a non-vetted tweet on X and expect ostracization from your natural ally, he concluded. This now appears to be the way of Canadian politics. Or, be to think you had it in the bag so much that you didn't make sure that all your candidates were nominated as you've been trying to take down the government for about 10 months. Well, maybe not 10 months. Let's say September, for about 5 or 6 months. And then rush to fill in all the spaces and don't do the proper vetting, or actually do the proper vetting and see these things and deem that these things are acceptable because these are your people. And now that one guy gets booted from the Liberals, well, quick, look at everybody who we know are problems and get rid of them now because it looks like this will not fly in this election. See, because the Conservatives are trying to turn this into a look how long it took Carney to do it. And look, we saw this on the first day and took them out on the first day. No. You vetted these people and put them on the nomination.
Mm-hmm. Sir,
or did not vet these people and put them on the nomination. But Mark McKenzie, it was really well known that he had made these claims. Andrew Lawton's claims, who's still on your caucus, he's been said them a long time. Garnet Genuous, who advocated for the torture of children because they happen to be gay, is still on your benches, and you've known about him for a long time. I mean, come on.
Just wanted to make a quick commentary here. I don't have an outline for today. You didn't send it to me.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I didn't get it. While you're doing that,
it is there.
Yeah,
you might want to check.
It's not.
Okay, I'll send it again.
Yeah, thanks. While you're doing that, I just wanted to show you, I think, the best April Fool's Day joke I saw yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. I think this is the best one.
Oh, did not see that one.
Yeah, I didn't think you did. Breaking: the Canadian federal government announces Justin Trudeau will be on the next $20 bill. The replies to this, I'm like, my reply to most of these people who lost their shit, I'm like, look at your calendar. Look at your calendar. Take note of today's date. Have you no sense of humor, man? The government of Canada doesn't put people on currency. That's the Bank of Canada that does that, not the government of Canada.
And I don't think they ever put anyone who's still alive.
No. Well, no. Well, the Queen. The Queen.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Just the sovereign. Of course. The sovereign would be the only one. But
on the face of the bill, not the back. Well, no, the face. Sorry, no, on the face. Sorry.
Yes, but it's only the sovereign is the only living individual on a Canadian note. But the one that this just killed me. I'm like, yeah. You think they maybe put his father on before him?
Probably,
like, that didn't even occur to people, right? If like people lost their minds.
The one I saw was Max Bernier announcing that the Conservatives and the PPC were going to merge.
That was a good one too.
Yeah, and then there were two. The other one I saw is two. It's not political, but two new alleged logo designs for Curling Canada. One that had an actual beaver curling. I know they were April Fools, but I kept them because I'm sitting there. It's like one had a beaver and a moose, and one had a beaver. And so I don't know quite what it is, beaver, but there's something about beaver. These things, beaver, I really like.
I see some of the replies to this though. It's like, is this a joke or for real? Look at the calendar. No, make us America. It's a crime to deface Canadian currency. He will definitely be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. One of the only ways we can throw him in jail. Should have done the Aladdin Trudeau for fun. If there was ever a bill worth burning, then always look for other bills. Pretty soon it won't be worth it. This better not be true. He deserves jail. Trump is going on her penny now that he wants to discontinue making them. Worth 14 real dollars. He was always oversold. Makes sense. Actually, a good picture of Justin Trudeau. But
that was a good joke, actually. The $14 one was a joke. It was a good joke.
That was a good one. I like that one.
That was a good
one. I mean, that was somebody in on the joke. So will there be any in circulation, or will the government just take them straight from the mint to cut out the middleman? It's like some people were in on the joke. Many were not.
People, let me explain to you that if the Bank of Canada decides that they're going to put a Trudeau on the bill, that's not defacing the bill.
No, it's not.
Just not anymore that it's defacing the $5 to put Terry Fox on it.
Yeah.
When the Bank of Canada makes the decision to put someone on the bill, it's not defacing the bill.
No.
Just because you don't like the face on the bill doesn't mean the bill has been defaced. Right? Again, just because the question gotcha doesn't mean it was a gotcha question. Right? Just not liking the face on the bill doesn't mean it's been defaced.
Now I know why I was confused. I did get the outline, but it said Friday outline.
Yeah.
That's why I was confused.
Yes. Sorry.
I'm like, what? So I was like,
I've been thinking all morning. I've been thinking it's Friday for some reason. I just want to get there. I know. I just want to get there.
Wow.
All right.
You understand my confusion now when I said
yes. Now I understand your confusion.
Okay. So you did send it. It's just
I did send it, but I I mislabeled it. All right. Also, as we do before the show, we get into the meat of it. Quick look at the polls. Again, our little reminder, polls are not comfort. They are fuel. Take a look at the results. Know that that's where things stood yesterday. It's not necessarily where they stand now, and things can change. But again, to get the temperature of the water in which the sharks are swimming. According to Polling Canada, there are 4 new polls yesterday. Angus Reid shows the Liberals at +8, Palace Liberals +9, Polaris shows the Liberals at +9, Ecos shows the Liberals at +12. There's also been updates on rolling polls from Main Street that still shows Liberals at +3, Liaison showing Liberals at +6, and Nanos showing Liberals at +8. The national share of the vote remains unchanged there, with the Liberals 6 point ahead, 43 to 37 on the national number. Always remember that the Conservative number is somewhat discounted, and not only this time for the superfluous votes in out west, but also for pretty much the entirety of their vote in Quebec, which will yield very few seats, even though they're polling at around 20% there, just because the Bloc and the Liberals are doing even more strongly. And their vote is also concentrated in certain areas around Quebec City, but diffuse around the rest of the province completely. So they get nothing pretty much for that amount of vote in Quebec. So out west and then Quebec together add about 6 or 7 points total. And the only reason Quebec is getting added is because the NDP number is so low and the Bloc is depreciating. Otherwise, Quebec really wouldn't be that big of a factor. Normally, it would only represent 1 or 2 points, but this time it ends up being 2 or 3. So the top line number is closer than the seat count and where the vote is distributed would indicate, and it's still a 6-point gap on this one. So it's pretty big. Seat trend lines are showing the same: 199 for Liberals, 119 for Conservatives. No change since yesterday. 19 for the Bloc, 5 for the NDP, and 1 for the Green. So if we are looking at a 338 polling aggregator here, one basic rule also for polling is if you're looking at the provinces, right, the 3 most populous provinces in Canada are Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia. If you're leading in all 3, chances are you're winning. Right now, 338 is showing that the Liberals do lead Ontario, do lead Quebec, do lead BC. All 4 Atlantic provinces, they also lead and are tied with Conservatives in Manitoba. So there doesn't seem many paths at the moment for the Conservatives to go through. Their top line number on 338, which had been showing a little bit of tightening over the past few days, has now resumed the upward trend, with the Liberals at 43, the highest that they've had so far. Conservatives at 38, not necessarily losing anything, but the Liberals getting some. And then the seat count still being around 191 to 126 on that one. And then according to the CBC poll tracker, the Liberals continued to widen their lead yesterday, gaining another 1.3% over the Conservatives. So they're showing Liberals at 43.2, Conservatives at 37.4 in this one. And when you break down to the seats, the CBC poll tracker now is the first of the 3 aggregators to have the Liberals over 200 seats. At 203, the Conservatives at 116, the Bloc at 20, New Democrats at 3, Greens at 1. And according to CBC poll tracker, the Conservative Party has a 1% probability of winning either a majority or minority. 1% at the moment, with the Liberals having an 85% chance of a majority and 11% chance of a minority. So that's where the polls are sitting. Not too much movement. Things seem to be pretty stable. There's a good chance that things might stay in this sort of area until the debates, unless there's some big things going on. Might have a little narrowing. The debates are the 16th and the 17th.
For some reason, I was thinking the 18th. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I thought it was so 16th.
Okay. Yeah, 16th and 17th. The 16th in French and the 17th in English. Both will be done out of Montreal live. So that's where the things are sitting. Maybe there'll be some more movement today or after today. You'll have to look for the first 3 to 5 days after IQ47 makes his announcement and Canadians see how our leaders react. Carney might get yet another boost depending on how devastating or not the additional tariffs are. And remember as well, there's a whole slew of tariffs, right? There's these reciprocal, essentially, tariffs. There's still some tariffs on steel and aluminum. We still have the initial 25% tariffs that came on. I think we'll have another round of counter tariffs coming on from the first set of tariffs because we were taking 30 days to allow industry to come. So there's going to be a lot of announcements of tariffs back and forth here. So there's actually been so many, and there's so many different avenues. Why not? There's still like I said, the original 25% for fentanyl and stuff. That I actually don't know how much things are actually being tariffed for real when you add them all now.
I
And is
have
the
no clue.
25% compounded on the first 25% if two tariffs apply to the same thing? And so I can't tell you when I'm following this.
I don't know.
Really following this. How much we're being tariffed on anything at any given point. I don't know. And when the next ones are coming, the schedule's just all over the place. One important thing to notice about the polling data, however, that's not getting a lot of play, is that there does appear to be a generation gap. And this is one of the things that the Conservatives might be betting on by campaigning the way that they are, like as if nothing is really happening in the United States and just maintain their own thing. But it seems that for Canadians 50 and older, they are very much more concerned with their ballot question is Trump. And it seems for Canadians 50 and under, even though they are still concerned about Trump and whatnot, they really still are more concerned about affordability issues and stuff of the like. Now, I know that Mr. Carney has said previously that he is going to have some measures specifically for young people at some point. I don't know if he has already technically announced them or if there's going to be a day with that where there's a package, but Pierre did give him an opening by making his tax policy, previously announced tax policy being to raise the basic personal amount for seniors to $34,000 before they were taxed. And this is, again, this Canadian seniors do have the benefit of an OAS and GIS as well, whereas young Canadians do not have that. So if Mark Carney were to do a similar move, but raising the basic personal amount for people born before a certain year,
what year is
or
that?
after, I should say, after a certain year rather than before a certain year.
Okay.
In this case, yes. So, like, let's say Canadians born after 1990 or 1980 or something.
So it doesn't affect me.
Yes. Well, I don't know whatever age he wants to set it at.
Oh, he
but
hasn't
if
said
he
it
wanted, no, he hasn't said it yet. I'm just saying that it leaves an opening for him if
Right.
he wants to make that part of his policy, and then he can contrast with Pierre saying, "Listen, he's offering more for people who already have extra security, but you don't. So that money he would take for that, I would take it and put this and give something to you." So that could be an opening there. Not sure if he's going to take it, but that opening has been left. But just to let you know that Conservatives are really targeting young Canadians, particularly young men under 50, even under 40 in particular, and they're really giving them the affordability message, like telling them it's like the dream for you no longer exists.
Yes,
Come
and
to
they're
me, my
telling
children.
women that they're broodmares for the state by saying that their eggs are about to dry up and evaporate.
Yeah, again, we reiterate again. It's like, whether you took it as a joke, whether you took it as an unartful way to describe a situation, like, you just don't talk about eggs. Biological eggs. Don't. Especially when you're not, when you're really not the pro, especially when you're not really not the pro-woman party, but so much so that for X number of years, you put a MGTOW hashtag on every social media post that you had. Like, don't, let's just put it this way. If you use a MGTOW hashtag, women probably are not going to take kindly talking about their bodies in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Just don't do it.
Never forget.
Just don't do it. All right. While all of this is going on, kids and cubs, and I saw the comments yesterday, want to talk a little bit more policy rather than the drama. And today we are going to be able to indulge you a little, because while all this is going on, Jagmeet Singh, of all people, has actually had a couple of good days. Now, some of it is by default. I mean, on a day where the liberal leader is saying, well, yeah, he may have had maybe not about transnational repression, but hey, he's our guy. We're going to keep him. And Pierre talking about tick-tock, your eggs are about to pop. Jagmeet Singh, just by being human and having a somewhat creative announceable one a day. He actually managed to have 2 policy announcements over the past couple of days actually break through.
Go figure.
So in this context where it's very hard to have anything break through. Now, he's also made a couple of good moves. Mr. Grizzly, if you will show the visual. It seems that Premier Wab Kinew in particular is very, very popular these days, with all three party leaders having either made time or made plans to see him. And Mr. Singh is no exception here. You see that he was in Manitoba very, very recently in Winnipeg, meeting with the Premier. He also had some time to meet with Premier David Eby. So Mr. Singh has met with the two provincial premiers that actually have represent an NDP party, which marks a marked change.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently, I remember Rachel Notley not wanting Mr. Singh to have much to do in the campaign, nor Premiers Eby or Canoe when they were running provincially.
How tall is Wab Canoe, do you know?
He must be pretty tall, because he seems taller than Jagmeet Singh with including the turban.
Yeah, and he towers over Mark Carney.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how tall. I've met Jagmeet. He's not super tall.
Okay.
So I'm just curious because I saw a photo of him with Mark Carney, and I'm like, he's quite a bit taller than Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just curious,
I have to look it up to see. So Mr. Singh met with Canoe and Eby. By the way, for our friends in British Columbia and maybe across the country who are not aware, it seems that in British Columbia, they have been having talks about removing their provincial carbon fee. So there looks like they're getting rid of it as well. And just a note for all the people in Canada, for the carbon price reduction, it affects everybody except Canadians living in the Northwest Territories and Quebec, who had other systems that bypassed the federal backstop. Sorry, what did you see, Mr. Disley?
Jen's comment. You know when you drive by the lake and it's a bit stinky? Yeah, that's actually my eggs.
Oh, jeez. Oh my God.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And then Mr. Singh had and then Mr. Singh had another good moment early on that didn't get a lot of play, but did get some. Now, some people choose to look at this negatively. I guess you can make a case for it. But Mr. Singh, when asked about tariffs and stuff earlier on during the week, said, I think we need to be ready to fight back with every tool possible, and we need to present that in a clear way that we're going to fight back. We're going to defend our country and our jobs. And he made a point of saying there are plenty of reasons and plenty of differences that I have with Mr. Carney, but on this, I'm on Team Canada. Which is, a lot of people said, well, that was a stupid thing to say because now you've surrendered all the time. Yeah, except for when you've got, one person who can't, keeps on developing a case of sudden acute onset conservative mutism and laryngitis when it comes time to say something against Trump, and one premier in particular, who feels the need to hold press conferences after taking a trip to Florida to discuss how Canada can elect solid allies to Trump, and then have Ben Shapiro go on his podcast and say things against tariffs that he's been saying for about a week prior before she got there, actually, and say, hey, I did it. Like she said, hey, I did it after the first day of tariffs were supposed to come, and Trump forgot we existed until a journalist reminded him about 8:30 in the evening and said, oh, yeah, those are coming too. And then one editorialist in Calgary, who works for the Calgary Herald, suddenly had to reverse himself in a very, very painful way for the U-turn. But he's back on it. He's back on it. I just read another column from this gentleman, and slavishly sycophantic and a huge apologia for everything that Danielle Smith has been doing. Everybody, you can suck it. Danielle Smith was just doing, it's called diplomacy, Oh yeah, yes. This is mere diplomacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Going to the States and saying, hey guys, if you want to do a little better over here, let me show you the way. She's acting like the people. It might be a little rough to say this, but January 6th, the people that gave the tours, allegedly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
She's that.
Yeah.
She's doing that. She's giving people the tour. I
would tend to agree with that.
Yeah. But apparently she decided that this required a victory lap, so she had a press conference on that. And she's taken credit for something she did not do. Now, Mr. Singh also had two big announcements, one on housing and one on the environment. And on housing, because he got to take two, because remember, he went to somebody's place and then talked about how Mark Carney, as head of Brookfield, did these terrible things. He's a terrible person because Brookfield bought some apartment buildings and then raised the rents, but had no announcement that day. So he got to take two. This where he again tried to pin some stuff on Mark Carney, I guess, which kind of distracted from the announcement because the announcement was good enough on its own in terms of being original and having something to break through. But he made an announcement that he would ban corporations from buying affordable rental buildings. 1, limit the federal funding and loans for corporate landlords. 2, boost the rental protection fund. 3, and actually change the mandate of the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporations to make it such that it was no longer just an insurer, but a lender of lower cost mortgages. These are original ideas. Because that breakthrough, they're not all particularly right for the times.
But CMHC actually going to provide lower cost mortgages? That I like the sounds of that.
That would be his plan. Yeah. So
because right now it's just insurance.
Yeah, right, exactly. All they do is insure mortgages, so it would change the mandate of the CMHC. Now, these are all good ideas that work in certain contexts. They're probably not good ideas for now, because even though we do want to help people afford homes, because economically, this is the economics, right? You talk about supply side economics and demand side economics. The problem is that we do not have enough houses. Period. And housing prices are going up. So if you make it easier for people to actually afford houses, you're boosting the demand side when you don't have the supply. So all it does is create more competition for prices, for fewer houses like this, and raises the prices because more people have more money. So when you have houses to spare, these types of programs that make houses more affordable or easier do work. But when you're in a situation of scarcity, all you're doing is increasing the amount of people who can compete for the same amount of houses, right? And you're also helping people that are really close to being able to get the down payment, but not quite there yet. So again, not the people who need the affordable. I mean, at the place we are now, houses are so unaffordable that everybody needs affordable housing. But when we are talking about like this, the most vulnerable, this does nothing for them.
We have to take into account not only are houses unbelievably unaffordable, and a large part of that goes back to the Harper government by allowing foreign ownership, because at one point in time, foreign ownership of Canadian housing was, there were rules around it, very strict and stringent rules, and he threw them out, and that created the housing bubble. But the other thing we need to take into account is if you take out the price of housing, you also have to consider the fact that incomes have remained mostly flat.
Right.
They have not kept up pace to the cost of living. They have not kept up pace to inflation. They have not kept up pace to productivity. And that is the big problem. And again, it goes back to Milton Friedman saying that the shareholder is more important than anything else in this world. And as a result, we've had wage stagnation and wage theft for decades. Again,
that is absolutely correct.
In 2024, I earned $20,000 less than I did in 2016. For want of a better term, that is completely fucked.
It is, absolutely. So this thing here, like I said, banning corporations from buying affordable housing, especially if government's going to get into the business of building more affordable housing to just build them and then have private developers buy it and turn it into for-profit housing, that's probably a good idea. Limiting the federal funding from loans for corporate landlords, that's probably a good idea. You probably want to leave them for, hobby landlords and small landlords because, we see all these cases as well of people deciding that they're going to live in your place and not pay their rent and whatnot and then just squat. And it takes you 2 to 3 years to get them out. There needs to be better stuff for those types of landlords. But, the landlords that own 80 to 100 of the big, high rises in whatever locality that you're in probably don't need this help. Right. Boost the rental protection fund. Yeah, absolutely. More resources for people if they're in trouble. That's great. But the CMHC one, while this is a good I believe it's a good policy when you have an abundance of supply, but not when you have a scarcity of supply. But the announcement, whether you think it's appropriate for the times or economically sound for the times, is original enough that it broke through on the day.
It did, and I agree with it. I think it's great. But like you say, it's difficult in the current situation we're in. That being said, and I think a lot of people can attest to this, we have less of a housing problem than we have an overabundance of Airbnbs.
Yes, that too. New rules to clear that type of stuff out too would definitely be helpful.
You know how many buildings in downtown Toronto in the South Core are empty? Like people don't actually live there?
Yeah.
65-story buildings. There's no residents in the building. It's almost all Airbnbs. And there was a study done on this a couple of years ago that proved this point. People don't live there. They bought them as an investment and they Airbnb them. They're not even renting them. They're Airbnbing them.
And I think when we were doing when we took a deep dive on housing a couple, maybe about a year ago or something, it was Adam Vaughn who had discovered that I think over 90% of the builds that had been approved in Toronto were 1-bedroom or smaller condos.
Correct. Yes.
Right. So it was just perfect for Airbnb. Like he kept on saying, a perfect place to meet someone and make a baby, but not to raise a baby.
Well,
you need to go someplace after, right?
Not even live together because 350 square feet.
Yeah, Listen, the condo that I bought in Ottawa all those years ago when they started the infill projects, I think it's like 610 square feet, and 2 in there is. You have to have decide on your 20 or 30 favorite clothing items and then agree that you're going to be washing them and wearing them over and over again. Or have a spring box, summer box, fall box if you want to rotate clothes and have a fashion. But you can't both have all your clothes in one closet at the same time. It's just not going to happen. It's like the closet isn't even walk-in. You can barely get one hand in to see your stuff.
So your condo's about the same size, a little bit, roughly the same size as my apartment.
Yeah.
Different layout, of course, but
different layout.
Roughly the same size.
Yes. Fortunately, with the balcony in the summer, I gain an extra 100 square feet.
Yeah,
but
I wish I had a balcony.
And live out there.
My mom keeps saying, "Why don't you get an apartment with a balcony?" I go, "Okay, Mom, that's those are the 2 bedrooms, which are now 3 in the new ones, and they're $3,000."
Yeah. Yep. Indeed. So
that's a mortgage payment, $3,000.
I know. It's way more. It's way more than mine.
There you go.
Right now,
it's a mortgage.
But of course, we had a very healthy down payment.
Well, that would be a mortgage payment with no down payment.
Yes. Our mortgage payment with no down payment would probably be about that.
But there's no such thing as a no down payment mortgage in Canada.
No.
I think there was a limited period of about 6 months just before the world came to a screeching halt in 2008, where some banks were allowed to offer that.
Yeah, and I think they went down to 5% instead of 10 for a little bit.
And
that was
5% could be underwritten by CMHC, so you actually weren't even putting anything down. I remember that because I thought maybe I should buy a house.
That was a Harper Jim Flaherty thing, by the way.
Yes.
That was their kind of way to sort of subprime us.
Yeah, and it didn't work out.
It didn't work out, no.
It was very short-lived. I remember seeing signs at banks saying, 0 down, self-employed, welcome. We will get you a mortgage. And I'm like, so glad I didn't pursue that.
Yeah, we are. My beaver sweetie was kind of a little displeased in a way that the carbon tax has been removed, because one of the reasons we got ourselves the heat pump is because we had calculated carbon tax increases in perpetuity coming on as part of the cost savings. So now we're just patting ourselves on the back for having done it because we are responsible citizens. But it's like probably the only people in Canada saying, no, don't cut the carbon tax now, is that everybody would put in a heat pump in the last 3 years. Oh, well, it happens. All right. So the other announcement that Mr. Singh had that went very well had to do with climate change. And I don't know if you have the clip ready here, Mr. Grizzly.
Just queuing it up now. Give me a sec here.
Mr. Singh had some interesting things to say. Now, you know, he's walked away as well from consumer carbon pricing. And he had mentioned that earlier, I think, before the campaign, but reiterated this, and then announced a $300 million retrofit program.
Challenge, as Laura was talking about. You know, we've got real threats. The climate crisis is real. We're experiencing it. And we also have some serious threats from Donald Trump, who's attacking our country. And the way we win this fight against the threats of Donald Trump is not by making Canada more like the United States. That's not how we do this. The way we win this fight is by doubling down on who we are as a country, by doubling down on the values that make us who we are. We believe in taking care of each other. It's a Canadian value. It's why we have things like healthcare. We also believe in taking care of our country, taking care of the land, the air and the water. Protecting our environment is what makes us Canadian as well. So when we fight back against Donald Trump, we got to fight back by defending what is dear to us, what is true to who we are. And so today we're talking about our plan to defend our environment, to protect our country. Here is just some of the first steps that we would take as a New Democrat government. We would remove the carbon tax, the consumer carbon tax, and take off that burden from everyday families. But we would make sure big polluters pay their share. This is very important. And one of the things that we want to do, and the part of the plan I want to talk about today, is the fact that your hard-earned public money is being given to highly profitable oil and gas companies. They're receiving massive subsidies every year. That has to end. New Democrats would once and for all end those subsidies. They must end. And we would use that money instead of giving it to highly profitable oil and gas companies. Instead, we would give supports to everyday families, because that's who we're in it for. We're not in it for the billionaires like the other parties. We're in it for you and your family. So we would cancel those subsidies and use that money to give everyday families the ability to retrofit their homes, to lower their energy costs, to save them money and reduce their emissions. That's a plan that works for people, not for the billionaires. So our plan would help 3.3 million homes get retrofitted. We would support low-income families with free upgrades, free retrofits to their homes, and then the remaining would be loans and grants to help higher-income families. Over 10 years, our plan is to get 3.3 million homes retrofitted, lowering their costs, lowering their emissions, helping families out. And what are the other plans, though, from the other parties? Well, Mark Carney still believes in giving away your hard-earned public money to highly profitable oil and gas companies. He would continue to do that in his plan, and that is wrong. Pierre Poilievre's plan is to let big polluters pollute as much as they want. He wants to eliminate entirely any barriers, any limits to how much they pollute. That means unlimited pollution into the land, water, into the air. That is clearly the wrong plan. Our plan is about taking away from the highly profitable oil and gas companies and giving to everyday people, to helping out families. And that's why New Democrats are in it for you. That's why our plan is one that's always...
All right. So, pretty clear policy here, position, the why and the context for it. He says that he will include maintaining the industrial carbon price, removing $18 billion in oil and gas subsidies, and imposing a carbon tariff on pollution-heavy imports. He said the party's incentive program would lead to retrofits in 3.3 million homes over 10 years, with free upgrades offered to low-income families and loans and grants provided to higher-income earners. Now, again, this is similar to to other things that have been announced. It's somewhat similar to the Liberal plan in certain ways. They're not talking about removing the subsidies. Unfortunately, I haven't heard any talk about that. But they have, Liberals, of course, dropped the consumer price to zero with an order in council 2 weeks ago, and the move went into effect yesterday. And I was skeptical that carbon price reductions would happen, but they did indeed happen. Now, the fact that this was done during an election and all the cameras of the nation were probably filming gas signs probably made it such that gas companies said, yeah, we are going to pass this one on. So it has been reported. We'll see after the election whether or not there's price creep and whether or not it lasts. But for now, at least, you have indeed had the deduction and it has been passed on to you. So again, well, you got Pierre still saying that, no, trust me, as soon as he wins, he's going to bring it back and put it, you just trust me. It's like, I have no evidence of this whatsoever, but just believe it because I say so. Just like the Liberals impose capital gains on your primary residence. We told you that. Or just like they jacked the GST up a couple of extra percent, just like we said they would, but they didn't do that either. Just like they were going to censor the internet, we told you, and they didn't do that either. But believe us this time. Believe us this time, say the Conservatives. So yeah. And then, of course, the Liberals also mentioned that the carbon tax will no longer be charged to consumers, but remain in effect for heavy industry, and that the additional cost to heavy industry would be create a fund by which we would provide incentives to Canadians to do the retrofits. So again, very similar to Mr. Singh, except he's not going to get it from necessarily increases in industrial pollution, maintaining it, but removing the subsidies and taking the money from there, whereas Carney does not seem to have indicated anything about removing subsidies, but charging more to high emitters for the pollution and taking that money and providing incentives to consumers. So you end up in the same spots similarly, except with the NDP plan, you actually do get the reduction in subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
So, but two slightly different paths to arrive at the same goal here. So those were the two big announcements from the NDP over the past couple of days. Then we didn't show this yesterday, but I do want to show it because the way that Mark Carney did handle the questions about Paul Chiang when he was asked was not the best. It was not the best. He could have had more substantive answers and some that were a little less curt, but he's asked a series of questions here in a row. So we'll keep going, but there's about like 3 or 4 that just keep on coming back to it. And it's clear that the answer is insufficient. And this here is a gift for Singh, because I said yesterday, you want to make sure that you handle this in such a way that it does not become a debate question. And while it may have been handled fast enough, although, again, principle, not politics, the way he handles this being so insufficient, and given that the NDP is the only party so far of the big 3 that hasn't had to let some candidates go, this might make it such that Mr. Singh will want to bring it back up during the debate.
He has other responsibilities in his writing. We have multiple, but not every candidate. I know Yvonne Baker's off doing different things. Like, people are doing things, they're out talking to Canadians. I'm honored that these candidates have found the time. I'm honored that Gregor Robertson, and let me just say a word about Gregor Robertson for a second. This is an individual who obviously has served his city. He understands these issues around housing as well as anybody in the country. And he understands as well, along with the Minister of Housing, who's snuck back there, yes, Mr. Erskine Smith, how the solution has to be an integrated solution. It's not just about we are changing a number of regulations, we are changing things on the tax side, but we have to create new entities. And we have to build all the way through so that we can build a sustainable, competitive housing market in this country. Thank you. Oui.
Bonjour, M. Carney, Laurence Martin de Radio-Canada. Pour vous, quel est le problème avec la loi 96 au Québec?
Premièrement, il n'y a pas de problème nécessairement, soyons clairs. Premièrement, il n'y a pas de problème. Je comprends l'objectif et je comprends bien l'importance de renforcer, de promouvoir, de protéger la langue française au Québec. Et j'ai fait de grands efforts pour cela, y compris le renforcement de Radio-Canada.
I don't know if you wanted to translate the question and his answer there.
Yes. So the first question that he was answering, the question got cut. Unfortunately, that's my bad. But he was being asked why Paul Chiang was not at that particular announcement. So Paul Chiang had other things to do that day. And then notice how he pivots to talking about Gregor Robertson and Nathan Erskine Smith and how they're so good, because he doesn't really have anything to say about Paul Chiang. So he's going to talk about all the people are good. That and and ahhing a lot and trying to make it work and trying to make the answer last long to show that he's answering substantively, but he's really just deflecting, talking about other people. Not great. The second question, the one being asked in French, is about Bill 96 in Quebec, and it's a question that's been coming up again and again and again. Haven't been talking about it because I want to do a more slightly Quebec-focused episode. There's little tidbits, but Bill 96 is coming up. Both bills in Quebec. The bill that made it such that if you were wearing what is being described as an ostentiously visible religious symbol while you occupy certain jobs within the Quebec Public Service, then you cannot occupy that job unless you remove it. That's one, the religious freedom one. And then on Bill 96, it's a language bill that has various things in it. And one of the things in it is signage laws with regard to companies and company logos. So instead of Starbucks coffee, it has to be Cafe Starbucks. And it seems that the Americans are upset and include.
That's bullshit. It's the name. It's
the
name.
I understand.
Look, I'm all about defending, culture and language, but that I have no tolerance for that. You're asking somebody to change the name of their corporation that has been established globally. Go to hell. Go to hell. I'm serious.
But Quebec's asking for it. The United States is bringing it up as a trade dispute as part of tariffs. They're considering a trade barrier. They might establish retaliatory tariffs on this. And there's a lot of questions in Quebec. Mark Carney keeps on saying, right, when it comes to trade and that type of stuff, there are certain things that are not on the table. I've made it very clear. Supply management is not on the table. Anything having to do with our cultural industries is not on the table. Anything having to do with the French language is not on the table. But they keep on asking. They keep on asking if you will legislate with regard to supply management, whether or not he's going to make it bind the hands of every government that they can never put supply management on the table in any trade negotiation again. He has not taken that debate, but he's saying, listen, I've made it very clear in a negotiation. That's what it always happens. You always start with the things. These are the things that are not on the table. We are not up for discussion. And here's the rest. And these are the things that I've already put up front on the table as not being up for discussion. So in other words, we don't need legislation. You got my commitment that these will not be on the table. But the other thing with Bill 96 now with this new aspect is they do not want to change. The United States apparently does not want to change these things. So now, right, it's whether or not they stand with them. And both of those laws are being challenged, being taken to the Supreme Court, and he's being asked whether or not the government will intervene. He keeps on saying yes. Now with regard to Bill 96, he's saying that there's nothing wrong with the concept of wanting to preserve French language and doing all that type of stuff. But there is, his problem is with the fact of the anticipatory use of the notwithstanding clause in order to achieve it. And therefore, the government is going to at least challenge on that basis, but not on the basis of the language. So he's trying to split hairs here, right? It's like, it's the use of the notwithstanding clause that we have a problem with, that if we're called to challenge, we will, because we're the party of the charter, and not so much because even though there are some minority language issue rights at play. And same thing for the other bill with regard to religious symbols, even though you can make the case strictly on the freedom of religion argument. It seems that the argument from the federal government will probably limit itself, or at least be principally, if not limiting itself, to the anticipatory use of the notwithstanding clause, which again, I keep on saying needs to be challenged, because if everything in the charter has reasonable limits, then I would assume that the use of the notwithstanding clause would also have reasonable limits. And maybe it's time for our Supreme Court to spell them out. So, but it's for anybody who wants the language rah, culture rah, I am on your side. They're not getting it in the sense that they want from Carney, right? Because in that case, it would be, no, we're not going to challenge you. You just do what you want when it comes to secularism and when it comes to language in Quebec, because you're Quebec and like, we're just going to turn the other way on everything. Federal government can't afford to do that. But this is a clever way of splitting hairs, saying that it's about the process, not about the objective.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there again, there might be some openings for some parties who want to go play on that terrain. We know that the Conservatives are very much like, let the provinces do what they want, unless it's something we don't like, and then we crush them. But which got François Legault to give his endorsement to the Conservatives at the previous election, which they are seeking again this time, as we showed you in the first show when Anna and Pierre went to have a meeting with François Legault. But it doesn't seem that he is inclined to give the ringing endorsement this time, because, well, one, it didn't work well for him, because Conservatives lost, and Quebecers actually found it really offensive that François Legault did that. It reminded them, the older Quebecois, a little bit of Maurice Duplessis back in the day, saying that to be a good Quebecer, you're going to vote this way.
That's bullshit. That's fascism. That's fascism.
Yep. So that did not go over for well. And of course, Doug Ford has been whispering in Frankie Legs' ear, don't get too close to this guy. So
yeah.
Trust me on this one. But yeah, Mr. I'm not sure that the clip goes on where because I believe that he's this question ends in French, and then the journalists come back to him a couple of other times on Chiang.
In English, it's to be clear. I understand the objective of Law 96. It is, and I support the objectives. Support the objectives of the importance of la laïcité in Quebec, and the protection, the promotion, the reinforcement of the French language in Quebec, and that's one of the reasons why we are foursquare behind Radio Canada, and you will hear more about that in due course. It's a related issue. It's not direct, but it's a related issue, which is why I raise it. The challenge that we see, I see, my government sees, is the anticipatory use of the notwithstanding clause. So in other words, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is suspended in anticipation. That is, and that I have a problem with that in any circumstance, whether it's labor laws here in Ontario or whether it's in that circumstance. These should be judgments directly for the courts, and a sort of fundamental approach, which is in Canada, un droit est un droit est un droit, a right is a right is a right, and if governments are going to override those rights, perhaps for valid reasons and get a balanced right, it should be much clearer and not assumed away at the start. To just assume away the Charter at the start is the challenge. So it's a structural, if I may, final point final, c'est un problème structurel avec l'approche, pas nécessairement la loi.
Justement, parce que vous dites que vous êtes d'accord avec l'objectif général de renforcer le français, mais est-ce que dans la loi comme telle, dans son contenu, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec tout le contenu de la loi 85?
Go ahead.
So then the journalist is pressing, says, okay, we understand that, it's about that, but about the content of the law, do you support the entirety of the content of the law? The answer here is no.
Je ne suis pas ni avocat, ni juge, ni expert constitutionnel. C'est une question constitutionnelle. Pour moi, c'est une question constitutionnelle.
Mais le contenu de la loi, vous êtes d'accord?
He says, I'm not a lawyer or a judge or a constitutional expert. To me, this is a constitutional matter. And there, as it said in his previous answer, this is a matter for judges.
Agreed. That is the correct answer to give in something like that. I'm not an expert on this. There are people who are experts on this, and we should consult with them. That's why we have experts.
And it's consistent with the previous situation as well. It's like don't leave it up to legislatures to predetermine that these rights should be overridden by using the notwithstanding clause in an anticipatory manner.
Je suis d'accord avec l'objectif.
So again, he's pressed, are you okay with the rules? Says, I'm okay with the objective.
I'd like to press you a little bit more on Paul Chiang. He lives in a riding that is 70% diverse, people of color.
Sounds like
Half
Judy
of
Trim.
that are people of Chinese ethnic origin, and of that population, about 20% are from mainland China. The question that people from Hong Kong have asked me to ask is whether or not you are putting appeal to those voters who may support the policies of China ahead of the democratic rights and safety of dissidents who have called Canada home, and mainly Hong Kong democracy activists who now live in Mr. Chiang's riding.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stand foursquare for rights, foursquare for our position, our very strong position vis-a-vis China, respect for Canadian citizens, all rights of Canadian citizens, irrespective of whether they hold dual citizenship or not, to be absolutely clear. And Mr. Chiang has long history of service to that community, history of protecting those rights. Mr. Chiang is well aware of these issues, including having family in Hong Kong.
How can he be an effective representative for them when they no longer trust him after he said this? The question, as you know, Mr. Carney, you know that Canada has executed 4 Canadians this year.
China.
You know that there are human rights activists in China in detention right now. How can Mr. Chiang, how can your party keep him as a candidate knowing this context?
Mr. Chiang has apologized for his comments. It's a lapse of judgment. He's apologized for his comments. He's apologized directly to me. He's apologized directly to the individual. He has a long record of service. He's going to continue his candidacy.
I've always admired Judy's work for decades. She's very good at what she does. Since she switched from CBC to CTV, I've found her strayed a little bit.
Yes.
From centrist objectivity.
Yes.
I think she's strayed a little bit.
Yes.
However,
However,
that was a good question.
Yes.
I agree with her 100%.
Yeah.
What she said, it was good. Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, if you've been watching a lot of this, like I have, I don't think he likes Judy Tridden very much because she asks extremely long questions and often packs 4 or 5 questions in one.
Yes.
And he's made the comment a couple of times like this, and they're often asked breathlessly, like this time, she said, like, Canada executed 4. Like, no, China did. That she's, so of the press pool, I get the impression that she's his least favorite of them based on previous interactions. This did not show in this interaction with him because normally he's often short in his answers with her, and as she keeps on and going, cuts off abruptly and says, it will be this type answer. Okay. And then moves on. But in this question, she's making a very good point here.
Incredibly.
And again, Chinese Canadians are not a monolith.
No.
You have people who were from Hong Kong who came before the handover, and they are dissidents and they don't support. And you have some people that have come from China who are very happy to be Chinese Canadians, but have more affection for the old for the system from mainland China. And I've seen that elsewhere, right? You've got the war against Ukraine. I've seen people from some Eastern European countries where Putin relatively is being good to them, supporting them in somehow. But Serbia is like that. Hungary is like that. Putin has given them some type of support, and there's been things going on. There has been history of war in Serbia with other ethnic groups and stuff like that. So they don't necessarily see him as in the same way we do, because his relationship to their country, he's always been a backer and a supporter, right? even like the last time I was in Romania, you even bumped into a couple of people now and then said, you know what, it's like this modern stuff's okay, but it was still better in Ceausescu because we had stability, right? You always have some people that like
Yes.
the old way.
Much like the reunification of Germany, there were people from East Germany had a very difficult time adapting to the new ways.
Exactly. So that exists. And so there is a diaspora within the broader Chinese diaspora like this who maybe supports what the government of China's position is towards Hong Kong. Right. So playing on that. Right. I mean, just as the rumor was that Paul Chiang was playing on that, saying, hey, he's he posts all this stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. And yeah, sure, we're pro-democracy, but he's made himself a target so bad that he's got a bounty on his head. Maybe he did that stuff in a not a right way. Like, you should probably vote for us.
Yeah,
right.
He dropped the ball on this one. Period.
He dropped the ball. And you can tell these answers, right? Like, he's skating.
Mm-hmm.
He's really skating.
It's
so that's what I'm saying.
You should have just mea culpa. I fucked up. Mr. Chiang resigned. I accept his resignation. It was the right thing to do. Let's move on.
And in light of the 3 candidates that the Conservatives had to drop yesterday, had he done that in the first place, he would be looking so good right now.
I know.
Because not only would he have done the right thing for Paul Chiang, but right next to the next day, someone calling for the execution of the prime minister, somebody like,
yeah,
it was right there waiting for you. All you had to do was hit the ball and you whiffed. You whiffed. And this, had the question been asked and answered very fluidly and firmly with it, that'd be one thing. But you see him scrambling and trying to divert to talk about other people. Listen, again, his aides committed malpractice because not only did they give him the wrong decision, right? He should have cut him. But if you're going to make the decision to keep him, you've got to prepare that answer. It needs to be written, edited down, and made succinct and put in his mouth and said over and over again and repeated in front of cameras and body language studied. And they can move that. And then you go out and deliver that. Like, he was not prepped.
Makes me wonder what all the folks that call us liberal snowflake cucks are going to think when they see this. We're not defending him. We're ostracizing him for what he did. His actions were poor. His advisors failed miserably. He should have cut him loose from the get-go. That's it.
It shouldn't have taken all weekend in the first place.
No, it should have been the moment it came to light, you do a little investigation, go, I'm sorry, sir, but we can't accept you as a candidate anymore. You have to step down. What you did is unacceptable. You cannot do that today. And we're not asking for perfection.
Just decency.
At all. Just decency. Asking, look, I don't know Mr. Chiang. Likelihood of us ever meeting him is probably slim to none. Maybe he's a very nice man. I don't know. But what he did was egregious. And it's not forgivable. From a political standpoint, it is unforgivable. From a human standpoint, maybe he can make amends with Mr. Tay, and they can come to some sort of friendly agreement. But what he did politically, unacceptable.
And must come with consequences. Must.
Absolutely. And this is the thing that people fail to understand. When people were coming out and saying, well, he apologized and I accept his apology. It's not up to you to accept his apology.
Exactly.
You aren't the one that he wronged. And you notice a lot of the people saying that look just like me.
Yep. It's like, well, he apologized to me. Well, I'm glad he apologized to you for the damage he did to the party, but he still suggested that somebody be maybe rendered for a nation where they would do whatever with them. So a nation that, now when he made the suggestion, he was not aware that China had executed 4 Canadians. That news came after, but a country that he knew that China was definitely willing to engage in hostage diplomacy. He was there for the whole Meng Wanzhou thing.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. So, not good. Not good. This, like I said, for me, this one was a layup.
Yeah.
Like political calculations. Sorry, honey. This is not personal. It's just politics. You are dead weight. You got to go. Snip, snip. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
If you go quietly and stay nice, maybe we'll find you a cushy position in the party, doing something, a consultation or something once the election's over or something. But for now, you got to go. Down in the basement in the freezer. You go hide there for the rest of the campaign. Right? It's just, yeah, I don't, like I said, a big flub, needless political capital wasted, and planting the seeds of doubt in a whole bunch of communities whose votes you need. Right?
Yeah.
But again, in this case, a good question by Judy Trin, bringing to light the fact, because yesterday we mentioned, right, it's like how many million, when you count all the diasporas of all the countries that were even cited in the foreign interference report, and there are probably a couple of other, because I'm sure we didn't talk a lot about Belarus, but I'm sure they might be involved in similar things since they like to take so, but of the ones that we know of, just the ones that we know of, there's probably a certain number of million Canadians that could be affected if you add Chinese Canadians and Iranian Canadians and Afghani Canadians and Russian Canadians, and right, that's a lot of votes. That's a lot of people where you're planting the seed of doubt. And again, they're not a monolith.
No.
Right? From India, we have pro-Khalistanis and anti-Khalistanis. We haven't had two MPs get into a fist fight. Get into a scuffle. I shouldn't say fist fight. But right in the House because of it. Right? Again, Arya Chandra being one of them. So these issues do persist. They're not monolith, right? It's not every person in Canada who's from India supports Modi, and every Chinese Canadian supports the Hong Kong dissidents. So there might have been, she's asking the cold calculation, was there someone in a room who being counted and said, well, there are about this many from Hong Kong and this many from mainland, so. Right? And this seems to be a support the mainland type position that Paul Chiang said. So maybe we'll just say, he was a police officer and did well because we don't want to lose the votes because we estimate that there are more people that still support mainland China who are living here. That would be very, very, very bad. By the way, if someone did that, the bean counting thing on an issue of morality. But then again, we keep on telling you, don't come to politics for morality.
There's little to no morality in politics. None. Remember, it's show business for ugly people.
Yes. The best way to guarantee a lifetime of disappointment is to look to your politicians for morality. Just saying. All right. So, Singh, having some good days. Let's see if he can make something out of this. Finally,
he won't form government.
He probably won't. But hey,
no, I can pretty much guarantee he won't. He's ostracized entirely too many people within the party.
Yes. That could be too. I mean, and again, it depends how, a lot of this depends on assists he gets from other players, but at least for 2 days, he got assists from other players to be able to break out and make some news. Like I said, hopefully for those who support him, support his party, that might help boost him at least maybe in his own writing, because so far, for a while, it was looking like he was at risk. It seems that polls have maybe shifted a little bit. He's had a couple of good days, particularly when he was in BC. That might give him a little boost. It might help to save him. But like I said on a previous show, we might end up at the end of this election with no Elizabeth May in their seat, no Jagmeet Singh in their seat, and no Pierre Poilievre in their seat.
Yeah, there's the chances of Poilievre getting reelected in his riding are slim to none, and none just left the building.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, when you get to the actual district polls, I would take those with more of a grain of salt because the margin of error is even bigger there. Because these polling companies don't necessarily do district by district type polling, so a lot of there's a lot of extrapolation going on there to come down with those numbers, but they are still useful in what they can do, but they are far from being as precise as the top line number for the parties or for the number for an entire province, because you just have a larger sample there. Okay, the NDP. Now, finally, kits and cups. Sometime in week 2, we finally get to take a look at the Greens. Because we were trying to give everybody a little bit an idea of the launches of the various parties, and the poor Greens kept on getting bumped because people kept on making news. The Greens had a bit of a pre-campaign announcement. Their launch wasn't actually very long. Most of the launches I see are like 30, 40 minutes with thing. The actual launch that anybody has anything of, and that's just CBC, and they only have about 8 or 9 minutes of it. So I don't know if the speech was longer, but it's not on the Green Party's website either. So maybe that was all of it. But before the Greens launched, they had a press conference where they had proposed some collaboration between the parties. They didn't go out as outright as saying it should be France style, that people should be left off the ballot and whatnot to make it such, but they did preach some type of a rapprochement between the parties. So
the audio on this is very poor.
Yes.
It's really bad. So we'll do the best we can, but the audio is really bad, and there's nothing I can do to clean it up other than just crank the volume. So we'll watch this for as long as we can.
Bonjour, je suis ici avec mon co-chef, Jonathan Pedneau, avec une conférence de presse au sujet les défis actuellement ici au Canada. We have been, as a country, to put it mildly, we've faced unprecedented challenges since the election of Donald Trump in November, and more recently since his inauguration January 20th. I want to share with Canadians how much being able to say we are Team Canada, being able to ride on the strength of the Canadian people standing up, grabbing a flag and waving it, and saying we are united, has given us a strategic advantage that Donald Trump never imagined we'd have. I can share that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has engaged with, and people have seen this, not only all the premiers, but all the opposition party leaders a number of times since the U.S. election, when Trump began to talk about 25% tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States. An unjustified threat that violates a number of existing trade agreements. Worse than that, we now know that Trump continues to express an interest in taking our territory, just as he does about, as in his speech to Congress the other night, Greenland will get it one way or the other. These are illegal threats. But Canada has stood fast, we've stood firm, and we've been united. So I want to share again, I think it's been a big part of our success in pushing back on Trump, that December 3rd we met in person here in West Block in the Cabinet Room. The Prime Minister, the Leader of the official opposition, the Leader of the New Democratic Party, the Leader of the Bloc Québécois, all of us together to say we are Team Canada. We've met since then a number of times. The last time was February 2nd on a conference call. I was already on my way to Washington by train, and I said to my colleagues, the Prime Minister, the Leader of the official opposition, the Leader of the NDP, the Chef du Bloc Québécois, the message I'm taking to Washington, I want to make sure it's a message that comes from all of us. What is the message that I'm taking on behalf of Team Canada? The message was clear. Tell them we are united. We will not back down. It's important. It's part of our ability as a country to stare down the increasingly erratic, unhinged threats from Donald Trump. But now we're on the verge of an election. We can already see how the tone changes. We're already seeing the Liberal attack heads against the Conservative attack heads against the Liberals. How do we stand firm as Team Canada and say we're united? The premiers, all federal parties, united. My fear as we go into this next election, which we think will happen very soon, is that unless we sit down and meet with each other and I mean all party leaders, meet together soon, the election campaign opens up two big risks for Canada. One is that divisions that will emerge in the cut and thrust of a partisan elbows out against each other showdown will open up possibilities for Trump and his henchmen in the chaos and uncertainty they are creating to use the tactic of divide and conquer, to hurt Canada by using Poilievre's words against Canada, or using Carney's words against Canada. How do we stand united in an election campaign? This is where the call for leadership is right now, not who is best able down the road after an election to defend Canada from unfair, retaliatory trade actions or worse from the United States. We're in that fight now. It's not a future threat. It's now. So how do we continue to stand firm as Team Canada going into an election? This is where the call for leadership. Canadians want to see real leadership. And that's why Greens are standing up now and saying, we can do this, but not if we engage in a conventional, hyper-partisan election campaign. We can do this if we meet right now. I'm directly calling to the new leader of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney, and to the leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, as well, of course, as my colleagues in the Bloc and the NDP, that we sit down together and review the options for staying firmly Team Canada while in an election campaign. Now, there may be other options, but the one that has historical reference points, the one that could work, and that Mark Carney must put in place before he names his own Liberal cabinet, is to bring together what would, in historical terms, be called a war cabinet, an inner cabinet that focuses on one thing only: how to protect ourselves, how to protect Canadian sovereignty, protect Canada's economy from the threat from the United States. To have legitimacy, that inner cabinet must include members of all parties. That's the historical reality of when Mackenzie King created a war cabinet in the Second World War, Winston Churchill had a war cabinet in the Second World War. To have legitimacy, to be able to take steps that are necessary, it has to include cross-party cooperation on the very limited set of things that Canadians want to see us continue to do as a government to protect.
All right. So, obviously that did not happen. The war cabinet with all parties was not included. The idea, however, was kind of taken when Mark Carney announced on the day of his cabinet that he would be the chair and Dominic Leblanc would be the co-chair or the vice chair of the U.S.-Canada Relations Cabinet Subcommittee. Sorry, I had to get that. There's 3 or 4 of them, and a lot of them sound similar. So one's the cabinet one, and then there's the advisory board or advisory panel on U.S.-Canada relations. That one's community members, broader community members, and one's the cabinet. So he did, and that one, the second one was created by Prime Minister Trudeau before he left, and then the second one was created by Prime Minister Carney upon becoming Prime Minister.
Right.
So he took some of the concept, he just didn't make it multi-party. Right. We'll skip the second part of the bit because that was the main gist of it, and we'll go to the first question in the Q&A that was asked of her. Ask of them at 11:58. I believe I'm not sure if this is I think this is still her again, and then Jonathan Penno will see him in the launch.
Okay, just a second. Here we go.
How confident are you that could happen, given how polarized the Parliament has been in the last number of months, and especially the Conservatives seem unwilling to work with the other parties on issues like this? We saw just in that meeting you had with Poilievre, Singh, and Trudeau, when the tariff situation first really started to kick off, the consensus was Pierre Poilievre was still just sticking to the conservative talking points and not seeming really willing to have a real dialogue with the other leaders. So how realistic do you think this even is?
I think it's realistic because the fact we continued to have those meetings up to and including February 2nd, that I was able to ask leaders of all the other parties, is this my message going to Washington? I don't want to go to Washington and freelance as co-leader of the Green Party and throw other ideas out there. I want to know, when I talk to staffers of Republican congresspeople, or Democrats for that matter, I want to know that I'm carrying a message from all of us. I think that's extraordinary, that all of them in the room, it was a virtual meeting on audio only, but we were all together in the virtual space. And that was a unified message of Team Canada. I also take heart from the fact, if we think of it, that the Standing Committee on Foreign Interference in Democratic Institutions was made up of members of all parties, that they were able to work with top secret security clearance together to issue a report, which has now been reviewed thoroughly by Madam Justice Hogue. We now know, and again, that was part of her report, Mark Carney should, or she didn't know the name, whoever the next Liberal leader is should get top secret security clearance as quickly as possible. So should Mr. Poilievre. Time's up for pretending there's some reason not to ask for top secret security clearance. Make it clear to Canadians there's nothing that amounts to conflicted loyalties on his part. But that core of a committee could be the starting point. It's realistic because it's necessary. We are in unprecedented times. The threat Donald Trump represents is real. I think how many journalists have pointed to how extraordinary it is that Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, would say they want to destroy our economy so they can annex us. How extraordinary is it, and I quoted this when I was at a press conference at the United Nations the other day on the threat of nuclear war, quoted Andrew Coyne from March 1st in the Globe and Mail. The United States, quote unquote, has given the nuclear codes to a madman. I think we'd all agree that Andrew Coyne's a thoughtful and known to be a conservative voice in the political spectrum. It is no longer extreme to point out that Donald Trump represents a threat to Canada and to the world, to stability within NATO. I mean, Denmark is a NATO ally, and Trump is saying in a speech to the U.S. Congress, one way or another, we're going to get Greenland. Reminds me of his attitude towards women. He's a serial misogynist, sexual abuser, rapist. He's in the White House. What does he want to do? Take Greenland out to buy expensive furniture? Take Greenland into the dressing room? I'm sorry, every time I hear Trump saying he's going to get something one way or another of another sovereign nation, in my head I'm hearing, yeah, I just grab him by the...
Yeah.
We have to be prepared, and we have to be united as a country across party lines, and that requires more than what's been proposed up till this morning when Greens are saying, we want to meet with you, all of us together, can figure something out. It may not be a war cabinet. Maybe there's a better idea. But without an agreement with all party leaders that we are Team Canada, that we do not allow divisions between us in a political campaign to create opportunities for Elon Musk, for Donald Trump, for their disinformation machine to divide Canadians. I wouldn't put it past Trump at all. I mean, we've seen Musk interfere in the German elections to support neo-Nazis. Okay. What's to say that Trump and Musk's ideas, well, let's just get some rage farming going and see if we can get a segment of Canadian society that likes the idea of a 51st state. So we can get divisions within the country, get people clamoring. Maybe. I think right now the unity in this country is so inspiring. We are, as a country, my constituency office can't keep up with the demand for flags. We have elder statesmen banding together, whether Jean Chrétien, Stephen Harper, Jean Charest. We heard Paul Martin. The call on all of us to celebrate Flag Day was from former political leaders across the political spectrum. These are not normal times. We have to cooperate. We have to stay Team Canada at some level going into the next election, or we will lose ground in the fight that we're in, and this is the fight of our lives for Canada.
Mr. Grizzly?
Wow. Liz has no F's left to give. And she nailed it. Nailed it. She has no F's left to give. She has gone full Charlie Angus.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm.
She's nailing it. And the way she talked about, they're trying to sow the seeds of division by finding there's always going to be a few people.
There's always at least one. Right, Danielle?
Right? So there's definitely a group of people in this country that want to become 51st state. There's about 200 of them in Alberta that have an organization that they like to brag. We have about 200 people. I'm like, okay, then pack up and move. You cannot
form a co-op
separate Alberta. You cannot separate Alberta. It's all treaty land. Every single centimeter of Alberta is treaty land. It's all treaty territory. So you want to leave, you have to physically get up and move. Alberta cannot separate. You need the agreement from the provinces. You need to hold a referendum. You need permission from the Crown. And I'm telling you right now, that is not ever going to happen. Never.
Yep. So unfortunately, this idea was not taken, or at least not officially. It seems to have been done haphazardly or ad hoc to try to form some type of Team Canada basis for this. But she saw the game, because what has happened, right? There have been attempts to try to divide us, and there has been somebody inside the house who's been taking the calls.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Danielle. All right. Then we got to the launch, and this time we'll get to hear from Jonathan Pedneau a bit. It's not that long. Like I said, most of the launches were 20, 30 minutes. And this one didn't have if there was a Q&A after, CBC didn't capture it. Now, here's the thing. When Elizabeth May says that CBC has something against them, right? There's something to it. Now, at first I saw the graphic for the CBC, and I saw that Jonathan Pedneau was representing the Greens rather than Elizabeth May, the face that everybody knows. And I thought, okay, that was really weird. Where did they put the guy nobody knows? Well, apparently he's the guy who's going to be doing most of the interviews and participating in the debates. So I can understand that decision. Then in the CBC programming, they had a profile of 45 seconds of every party, and then with a journalist that was assigned to the party talking about what was to come. They did the profile for the first three parties, then later on the show did one for the Bloc, and did not have one for the Greens. Now, they did go in to the launch and show us a little bit what they're showing there, but I don't think it was the full launch, and I'm sure there was a Q&A after, and there was nothing on it, and it's nowhere on the CBC website. The Greens, in their campaign so far, have campaigned mostly in their home riding. So Jonathan Pedneau in Outremont, which he doesn't have a very strong chance of winning, unfortunately, and Elizabeth May in Sandwich Gulf Islands, which seems as a toss-up at the moment. She still has a chance of winning it because the trackers are showing Greens 0 to 2 seats, so she's still in it. But so far, she does not have the lead. So if you're voting strategically and the person leading in Sandwich Gulf Islands is not a progressive friendly candidate, you might want to strategic vote there and make sure that Elizabeth May does win. Of course, if it's an NDP or a Liberal that is providing the competition, it becomes a little trickier for those of you who are wanting to look that way. But it seems that she's still in it, but it seems that Jonathan Pedneau again is going to be taking more space. They haven't been getting a lot of coverage because they've been staying mostly in their home ridings, although earlier this week, they've been campaigning in Nanaimo and then got a little bit of press from that. But one of the reasons you're not hearing much from the Greens and probably from the PPC is that they are not campaigning far and wide this year. But let's take a look at the launch.
Chers amis, dear friends, What an extraordinary time. Quels temps extraordinaires qu'on est en train de vivre.
We're exhausted, crushed by what is happening.
Privé de paix d'esprit.
And this is affecting our spirit.
To be grateful, to settle for less. But deep down, we know that this isn't working. And we're not imagining things. This system is rigged. And it is rigged against us. Là, il va falloir dire les choses comme elles sont. Le Canada
so let's say
n'est
it
pas
the way it
brisé.
is. Canada is not
Par contre,
broken.
il est pillé. Il est pillé par un système qui est conçu pour
it is
extraire
affected
notre temps,
negatively
nos
by a
ressources,
system that
notre
takes our
avenir,
time, our resources, and our future in order to enrich some people at the expense of the majority. So we have to take care of our people. And we mustn't listen to what some people are saying. And these people want to make us believe we can't change anything. They're trying to fool us because what we know and what you know is that together, if we're united, we can change things.
Canada is rich. It is rich in people, rich in compassion, rich in inventivity, and rich in resources. We can house everyone. We can feed everyone.
We can.
We can protect our land, but that demands courage. Courage to tax the ultra-rich. Courage to stop giving subsidies to the larger corporations on our land. It demands courage to rebuild what has been torn down. Le courage en 2025, c'est de refuser le mensonge
courage is
selon
about
lequel ce qu'on a
refusing
déjà
lies.
présentement, c'est le mieux qu'on puisse avoir.
The idea that what we have is the best we can have. It's the courage to stand up and work together and to work towards the future of this country as we are united.
Solutions, they will not come by waiting for a single person to fix them or to save us. The solutions will come by electing the most honest, brave, and visionary parliament we can possibly dream of. And we will do this in this election. Les solutions, elles viendront pas d'en haut.
Solutions will not come from the top. They'll come from all of us together.
It is high time we bring Canada to Ottawa, not the reverse. And we will do this together. Alors, à un moment où l'avenir de
So
tellement
at a
de monde est
time
en jeu,
when the future of so many people is at stake, I'm very pleased that to be the co-leader of the Green Party at the age of 35 as a young person, because for me, the future is not a privilege, it is a right that governments turn their backs on and foster the interests of the richest at our expense.
To be the youngest leader on this stage during this federal election, because for me, as for many of you, the future is not a privilege. It is a right that gets violated every single time leaders spend more time caring about their own careers or their donors instead of your kids and our communities. Moi, j'ai passé plus de 15 ans en zone de guerre. I've seen the world for what it is, in a way that no other federal leader has. Entre l'Ukraine et l'Afghanistan,
Ukraine, Afghanistan, I worked to protect human rights and peace because I knew that whatever people may be afraid of, in a crisis you have to stand up. It's about bravery and love. It's about looking after each other. And it's certainly not a single leader that can make all of that happen. We have to be united to
over the past 15 years. From Ukraine to Afghanistan, from Venezuela to Libya, I've seen what collapse looks like. But I've also seen people rise up to the challenge when they act together with clarity and purpose. And I know that our team, the Green Team, has what it takes to make Canada rise and resist and face the future with open arms and open hearts. Là, nos voisins au sud de la frontière sont en train de flirter avec
neighbors to the south are flirting with authoritarianism and fascism, hate and violence. All of those things are gaining ground. So if we don't defend our democracy, no one else will do it for us.
Friends, the threat is real. We cannot afford to sit this one out. We must vote now, as though our country depends on it, because more than ever before, it does. C'est important que tous les Canadiens se rendent aux urnes. C'est le temps de voter parce que cette fois, plus que jamais, ça compte.
It matters.
À Montréal, on l'a toujours su.
We've always known that. You've always known that.
Un autre avenir est possible.
A better future is possible, and it will start right now, today, with Elizabeth and I, in Outremont, and right across the country.
Let's get to work. Le travail commence aujourd'hui. Elisabeth.
The work is starting now.
Merci, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you to all Canadians who this morning are waiting for the time of the Greens.
We have to be in this election more than ever, and I say this to the other political party leaders who are also speaking to Canadians this morning. Despite the fact that we're in an election, we have to remain Team Canada. Yeah. We have to be strong together because there is a threat. There's a threat, and there's a threat. It's not just one person. Just as Jonathan just said, the solutions for Canada don't rest in one leader or one party, but all of us, tout le monde ensemble. C'est nécessaire.
Everyone together,
but there's not just
that's what we
one
need.
Threat, one person whose name is Trump. There's a global billionaire class of oligarchs who seek to destroy democracies all around the world. So Team Canada, what does it look like in an election? So many Canadians ask me, they say,
sorry to interrupt, but preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish more people could hear this.
Sing it, Liz.
Because she's...
I've stopped buying anything from the United States. I'm buying Canadian. I've canceled my vacation in the United States. What else can I do? C'est pour ça il y a une réponse. Votez.
We can get out and vote. We have to vote.
It's going to be an election that matters like never before. Voter turnout in this country has been declining. This time, it's your patriotic duty to vote. Every single Canadian 18 years and older, get out and vote. 18 years and older, get out and run. This is an election where, as Jonathan has said, vote like your country depends on it. Vote like your planet depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it. Let's have the highest voter turnout in the history of Canada. Take that, yes. Trump. We're a country. We vote. We're proud citizens. And we will stand together against any threat you can put to us, our democracy, Ukraine, its democracy, Denmark, Panama, you name it. Canada protects our own. We leave no one behind. And we stand strong for a world that respects human rights, respects democracy, respects the rule of law, and makes sure that we no longer steal the future from our children and grandchildren.
That's the passion I want to see.
Yes.
That's the passion I want to see. And I keep on, I've said it, maybe not keep on saying it or saying it, but this particular election, we need to get out and vote because voter turnout is going to send the message. And hopefully, that if we get a majority government, Liberal, with 200 seats and more, hopefully that will teach the brain trust within the Canadian Conservative movement that that shit doesn't play in this nation. And maybe they will stop copying the American playbook and try to find something original of their own, in which we can actually recognize ourselves as Canadians.
Carol's comment here, I agree. Trump will see us as weak if we don't get out and vote in huge numbers. You'll say, see, Canadians don't care. That's why they need to be the 51st state. Although his talk of that has ended as of recently. So For now. Yeah, I didn't say it was over. I said it ended. No.
Yes.
I didn't say it was over. There's a difference.
But still, I am happy for the peace and still wondering what Carney said to him to get this sudden change of behavior. Oh, my word. So there you go, kids and cubs. We have the Greens. Unfortunately, not too much news, like I said, because they've been campaigning mostly locally. It seems to be, given that it's a very polarized campaign, a save the furniture type campaign for the Greens. Good news for them, however, it seems that the Debate Commission has announced yesterday that they have met all the 3 conditions to be included in the national debates. I was kind of worried about that for the 4% polling because a lot of the polling aggregators are showing them dipping below 3 here at certain times. But it seems that there's enough, they're not using the aggregators, they're using individual polls, and there's enough of them that still show them at the 4% or greater to be able to participate, which is good because we do need their voice. Jonathan Pedno, for those who don't know, we introduced him when he became leader. He then had to step away for a little bit, but was able to come back, as co-leader. He is young, 34, I think he said. I think the translator translated it as 35. But a very accomplished international human rights lawyer. So when he's talking about Libya and Afghanistan and Ukraine, whatnot, he's been there.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. I like Jonathan Pedno. I think he's a very good choice to run the Green Party in the future. A young man, accomplished young man, and he will bring young people into the party, which is a large part of what the Green Party is made up of. And it's astonishing to me that they haven't won more seats because I mean, look,
the Anime Paul thing screwed them. That was the election that they were supposed to break through.
And they screwed up. Now, that being said, this election, and I think the Green Party recognizes it, because you've had individuals in Montreal in their riding saying, vote for the Liberal. In this election, this is the most important election of our lives, one of the most important in Canadian history, without a doubt. That's not up for debate. Our sovereignty is on the line here.
Yep.
So I think a lot of young people in this election, the young men tend to lean conservative because MGTOW Pierre Poilievre tells them what they want to hear, and it's all bullshit anyway. The man can't speak without lying. We've proven this. We've documented this. But in this election, the female vote will definitely lean Liberal right across the age spectrum.
Yes.
Period.
Yes, and even men 35 and under, the gap has closed.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
With conservatives are still leading, but the gap is closed by like 12 or 13 points or something.
Well, if you're a young man and you have a sister or a mother or a cousin or a female coworker or a coworker who is female whatever the case may be, female presenting, think about them when you cast your ballot. Don't think about just yourself, because no matter what, you're going to be fine. If you're a cishet white male, you're going to be fine. You fail up, you're going to be okay. Think about your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, the rainbow community. Think about the Indigenous community. Think about the people that will be harmed by voting for the Conservative Party, because it's not the Conservative Party, it's the Reform Party under another name. And I need people to understand that. These are religious zealots. They do not believe in a woman's right to make a choice about her body. Pierre Poilievre said he won't vote against it, but his party's free to do whatever the hell they want. And we all know Arnold Viersen has stood up in the House, 40 times?
Something like that, yeah.
So pay attention, kids. Pay attention, adults. If you're 18 years of age and you want a future in this country, I'm not telling you to vote Liberal, but I'm begging you not to vote Conservative. Begging you not to vote Conservative. Vote for whoever you want, but I'm begging you not to vote for the Conservative, because they do not give a shit about you. And they are not conservatives. They are the Reform Party under another name. They simply adopted that name because they knew they could get people who have identified as conservatives their entire lives to vote for them.
Indeed.
Did it. They formed government twice.
Absolutely. Now, kids and cubs, there's been a tiny little bit more policy. Mr. Grizzly, if you would get JB's clip ready. I've seen in the chat people asking me if I'm going to be going to the Pierre Poilievre event today here in Kingston. Probably not, because, the whole invitation thing. But it seems that there's something else going on. Now, Pierre Poilievre has decided that he is going to come back to the Ottawa area so that he's able to be there for when IQ 47 drops what he drops, unlike last time where he was caught in Delta, British Columbia, and couldn't come back because he couldn't tell everybody else that would be following him on a plane, if he had them on the plane, that the plan has changed because they need about 2 or 3 days warning so that they can change their plans. So
I don't mean
he's
that
made sure that
seriously, PNC Bio. I don't mean it seriously because I've not failed up. Okay, just
so he's trying to do that. So he's making sure, but first a stop in Kingston, and look at where he's going to stop.
I don't know who is running the Conservative Party campaign and who is deciding where to have these events for the Conservative Party where Pierre Poilievre is going to be hanging out, but they have made a decision to have a rally in probably the worst possible place ever. When I heard that Pierre was going to be in my hometown of Kingston, Ontario, I thought, well, that's interesting. Where is he going to do it? Is he going to do it at the local arena? Maybe somewhere on Queen's University, or maybe in the military base, maybe somewhere in CFB Kingston. Where is he doing it? He's doing it at the Kimco Steel Yard number 2. Want to know what that looks like? It's the fucking dump. He's doing a rally at a fucking steel and metal dump where you bring your broken down cars and all the metal you don't want anymore, and they crush it and make it into other stuff. He's doing a rally here at the dump. I mean, if that's any indication of how this Conservative campaign is going, that they have to have rallies at the fucking dump, then I don't know what to tell you.
Well, kids and cubbies,
was that like the
I've been here all the time. I have gone to Cornerbrook, Newfoundland. It was beautiful. I've been to Victoria, British Columbia. It was beautiful. But then I go to Kingston. What a dump. Betty Davis would not approve.
No, definitely not.
What a dump.
What a dump.
He's going to a dump. Now, your Royale with cheese, Queen Beaver, is not adverse to going to meet her very loyal and faithful subjects in any environment in which they may decide to hang out. But darlings, I dried the lawn at a dump.
Yes, there's limitations. So
there are certain places I cannot be caught on camera.
We got to wrap. We got to wrap up. But we need to share this because this is important, and I don't know if everybody's well aware of how this individual. We've shown her clips on the show many times.
Yep.
I don't always see eye to eye with her, but I don't see eye to eye with anybody all the time. I mean, that's just simply not possible. Right. And I have said that I find Rachel to be a bit of a provocateur sometimes. I'm not going to lie about that. But what happened to her? Some things are just wrong. This is wrong. This is the silencing of a voice because the voice said something the Conservatives didn't like.
This is the real impact of the harassment that I have to deal with. After CTV Your Morning announced that I would be joining them every Friday of the campaign to do a fact check, a bunch of bad faith right-wingers who hate me for no other reason than I have reported accurately on the things that people they agree with politically have said and done. They just swarmed, including someone who up until a week before the election was Pierre Poilievre's main spokesperson and is still on Pierre Poilievre's team. And yesterday, CTV called me and informed me that I've lost this career opportunity. Because I was worried that they were going to be spineless, I recorded the phone call. And in that phone call, CTV made it extremely clear that this was being canceled because of the online backlash, not because of my skill set, not because of anything that I have said or done, but because of the way that these bad faith trolls were talking about me online. Bad faith trolls and a member of Pierre Poilievre's team. Before I play you any of this audio, I want you to understand that this is why these guys do this. This is why I get harassed so badly, because they know that it'll work. If you see someone reporting on far right, on threats to democracy, on the rights of trans people, and you bully everyone who gives them a career opportunity anytime they achieve anything, and then those career opportunities get taken away, you're going to realize that it works. And now, because CTV just caved to this pressure for no other reason than the backlash that these guys intentionally inflicted on me, they're going to know that they can do it again. This is a direct attack on journalism, on the freedom of the press, and frankly, it really, really is crushing for me. Here's the phone call, and you can decide for yourself.
This is Rachel Gilmore. Is this Jennifer? I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thanks
Let's move to full screen, Mr. Grizzly.
Of course. I laughed actually when I got your very anonymous voicemail, and I was like, well, that's not surprising.
I can't. That's the way the clip is.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta be careful.
I realize. I wanted to call to talk to you about the planned appearances that we had you discussed with our team on the show. I'm sure you're well aware.
Let's see if I can find a longer clip. It's because it was shot in TikTok. That's how it shows up. So okay. I can't augment and have her on camera there because it's not in the picture. She's not there. So I have the full clip here. It's 10 minutes, so we're not going to run the whole thing, but I'll just get to the call.
So while you're looking for it there, so basically what has happened, as you mentioned, that CTV had a segment on its national morning show called Fact Checking, to fact check election and misinformation. And she was going to be brought on it. It was going to be a gig for her. And then, of course, there was lots of complaints, we assume, again, from Pierre Poilievre friendly people.
Sebastian Skamsky as well.
Yes. And apparently CTV has decided that was too much for it to take and called her and canceled the opportunity. So she actually lost work, gainful employment as a result of this.
Donna coming in saying, joining way late. I hope the boys talked about Rachel Gilmore and CTV. Well, Donna, you joined just at the right time because that's what we're doing right now.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for calling me back.
Yeah, of course.
I laughed actually when I got your very anonymous voicemail, and I was like, well, that's not surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta be careful.
I realize. I wanted to call to talk to you about the planned appearances that we had you discussed with our team on the show. I'm sure you're well aware of the pushback we received after your first appearance on the show.
Yeah, definitely. I've got some very dedicated trolls. They operate in really bad faith. It's super frustrating.
You know what, Rachel, I can't even imagine. I followed you for a long time. I'm well aware of the trolls that you deal with, and it is really shocking and disappointing.
Thanks for saying that.
This time.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I knew that you had that troll base, and I knew that we would get some sort of reaction, but I really did not realize the extent of the volume of that pushback that we had.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole model at this point. Like, they've developed a playbook to try to deprive people like me of opportunities, and they're very good at it. So
they are. And like, the tricky thing for me is like, it just ends up being a distraction of what we are trying to do. My goal as the EP for the show is I just want to do election coverage.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a critical election for Canadians. We've got Trump, we've got tariffs, we've got crazy amounts of information coming in, and we just want to be able to get that to people. But who we're talking to is kind of drowning out what we're talking about right now. And I don't feel like we have the bandwidth to deal with it. So I feel terrible about doing this, but I'm just going to call down the segment that we were planning to do with you because I just don't think we have the bandwidth to be able to keep the focus where we need to. I know that is super disappointing and crappy, and we're the ones who reached out to you, and we were really looking forward to the segments together. But
I just don't feel right about moving forward with it because it just ends up distracting from the work and the coverage that we're trying to do. And I recognize what you're saying is that this is another opportunity denied to you. And I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I think it's just frustrating because it's a bad faith campaign that's totally out of my control. And like, it's any journalist held to this level of scrutiny would, like, anyone could find a correction someone has issued, for example, and blow it out of proportion. And I just have this like super dedicated group of haters, and it's frustrating because it's a model that works, and the fact that this is getting canceled is evidence of that. Like, this is why they do it, and this is why there's going to be fewer women and people of color and people like me on these shows, you know? So it's too bad. I wish that you guys had the bandwidth because it is kind of utterly unfair. Like, there's no real criticisms being levied here, right? Like, there's nothing I've issued corrections for that they're bringing up that like are disproportionate to the standard work of any journalist, and it's just too bad.
It is, and I agree. I agree, and I feel terrible about it. I know, like I said, I know that we made an arrangement with you to do 4 appearances. I am willing to live up to the financial part of it. We do offer an expert fee, and I'm happy to pay that out because we're the ones canceling it. If that helps in any way, I mean, it doesn't, because I know that the appearance itself would have been valuable as well.
Yeah, it would have gone a long way to pushing back against the bad faith narratives out there. But
and there may be a time and a place down the road where we can delve into it. After an election campaign, or maybe there's something we can do down the road because I see what you're saying and I feel the frustration.
Yeah.
I am sorry. I really am. I am also disappointed about this.
Yeah.
I do want to be clear, though. This is like 100% my decision. I've been trying to sit with it for the past few days to really like give it time and consideration and respect for your work and for the work of our team to make sure that I'm making the best decision for us and for our viewers. And I really do feel like this is what we need to do. So I just want to be clear that like this is my decision. I own it.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to let you know we're not going to say anything publicly about not doing the segments, but I totally understand you have your followers and your viewers, and you need to say whatever you need to say to them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like I kind of have to because it's a bit embarrassing for me, right? Like I already publicly, because I waited till it was said on air because I didn't want to risk any kind of embarrassment like this. And, the trolls are going to take this as a victory, as they should, frankly, because it's bad faith and it worked. So it's too bad. It's too bad that the model works.
It is. I am sorry. And I offer you my personal apology too, because I do feel really bad about this because I know it was us who reached out to you too.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the apology. I wish the world was different, and I wish that you guys were able to, push ahead in the face of this. But it is what it is. So
it is. I would love to keep in touch down the road. I would love to keep the conversation just between you and I going because I feel like I like hearing what you have to say, and I think maybe there is something down the road that we can do.
I appreciate that.
Are you interested? Do you want to invoice us for the appearances? Because I am more than happy to give you the standard expert fee for that. If you want to send us an invoice, I'm happy to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I will send that along. Thank you for that.
You can send it to Kristen. I think you've got her email address, or I'm the same. I'm Jennifer. Actually, I have an email right here, so I'll send you an email after this so that you have my contact.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Thank you for understanding. I really am sorry. I wish we lived in a different world.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate your understanding.
All right.
I call bullshit. Oh, sorry, I muted you there, sir, because the keyboard was loud. I forgot to unmute you. My apologies. I call
bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
We don't have the bandwidth.
Bullshit. You bent over backwards because your right-wing oligarchs that pull the puppet master, that are the puppet masters that pull the strings of the puppets that are on the television show, were told, get her off now. You've pissed off our Lord and Master, Pierre Poilievre. You've pissed off the party. Get her gone. That is what happened. To say anything else is bullshit. Absolute bullshit.
The CNC TV does not stand for Canadian.
Clearly.
Yes. As you heard from the call, Rachel Gilmore waited until it was announced on TV before she announced to people that she was going to do this. According to a press progress report written by Luc Lebrun, Gilmore received a glowing introduction from CTV, your morning host Anne-Marie Medawake, during her first appearance on March 25th. Quote, if you want to make an informed decision, it's best not to do it on mis- or disinformation, Medawake told viewers. Journalist Rachel Gilmore, it's great to have you on your morning, and I want to let everybody know you're going to join us every week through this campaign for Fact Check Friday. You're going to fact check it for us every Friday. Can't wait for that. And then Rachel made the announcement. So now, of course, saying, this is additionally humiliating because I announced it to everyone, and the person from CTV says that I know you're going to have to announce it and do what you do or whatever you do, and we're okay with that. And says, well, yeah, I kind of have to.
This is the second time Rachel's been shit canned by conservatives. The second time. To say anything else is bullshit.
Yes. Now, Sebastian Skamsky, when he heard the news, tweeted, in a shocking new low for CTV News, they are having this disgraced disinformation peddler lie directly to their viewers under the guise of, quote, news. The liberal media will do anything to ensure a fourth liberal term. Remember that the next time they, quote, fact check conservatives. So, providing nothing to substantiate his description of Gilmore as a disgraced disinformation peddler, of course, just say it is and let the trolls take care of the rest. His tweet has been viewed nearly 500,000 times at the time of the writing of the article, inspired by a pile-on of far-right influencers and right-wing alternative media outlets, including the Western Standard, of course. So yeah, and then she got bumped, despite getting really positive feedback after the initial appearance, according to Gilmore. In an interview with Press Progress. The main thing was that this was too much of a distraction. I was canceled because there was so much outcry online. And online is not real life.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. This is terrible because she gets shit canned a second time. It's terrible because CTV creates a terrible precedent by caving. As Mr. Grizzly said, there have been tensions between our network and Rachel Gilmore. We personally have no issues with Rachel Gilmore. We have reached out several times and have invited her on the show. We have done it again after this. We are aware that the same comments that Rachel Gilmore says about her have affected us.
Mm-hmm.
There have been online groups of very dedicated trolls that have attempted to affect us, and it has affected our attempts to get several guests. A few times that we've announced that we had guests that had agreed, like Faye Johnstone and other people, to come on, and then suddenly we get no response.
Yeah, we get ghosted
whatsoever. Even though we are very, 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 very trans friendly. By the way, for those who missed it, on the 31st was International Trans Day of Visibility. Oddly, not a mention from anybody on the campaign about it, from what I can see. So that one kind of slipped everyone by. Maybe everybody just decided to take a pass and not to step into that zone, because almost nothing good comes from it these days when you bring it up, even for those who want to defend it. But yeah, we too have been affected. We know what it feels like, not to the extent of losing jobs, but definitely losing guests, of being pursued by a dedicated group of trolls who assume things about you just because, for example, the network you happen to be on, right? It's like everybody that's on a network is not one person on the network, right? We keep on looking for good, decent conservatives who would like to come on our show because we know they are not all Polyev.
No, we know that.
Right? So this is wrong. Whether you like her or you do not like her, whether you appreciate her style of journalism or not, whether you think she's on your side or not, this is wrong because you can be next. It is not only the right that has a good group of online supporters and sycophants that are really ready to take people down and cause people trouble. Everybody can be affected by this. Again, if you are anti-Rachel Gilmore and you're sitting there and you are cheering, do not do that because this could happen to you. We've seen Swifties at work. It comes from both sides. This is not behavior that should be encouraged in any way, shape, or form. And again, if anybody hears this, if anybody knows Rachel, I don't know if she sees our tweets or not, but Rachel, if you do want to come on our show to bring attention to this, you have a home here. We will welcome you. We will give you the space. And trust me, you will be welcomed and treated with respect.
Well, this is an interesting comment from Ree Sassi-Siwich. Rachel hates Dean and Crier Media. That we know. She won't do it. She has her own team of trolls who targeted Crier and your show. I was not aware of this. I was not aware of this. Fine. I don't care.
I'm not saying, I won't say she has her team and that she directed them. So, right? She can not like Dean and make a personal decision that she's not going to be on any show on the network. And that has nothing to do with the trolls. There are certain networks we won't go on. Right?
Exactly.
So we're not attributing fault. We're just saying that the same dynamic happens on both sides. Yes, there are trolls that support the conservatives. There are trolls that are very far left militant. Both use the same tactics. Both can affect any person in media's possible advancement and opportunities with this type of campaign. Nobody should be celebrating this, regardless of your feelings for the particular target this time. Regardless of the variable, the constant should be that we do not support this. For anyone, no exceptions.
No. And look, I'll go back to what David Parker said. He's not a fan of Nate or Nate's show, but he was pissed off that they silenced him because he felt that was wrong. And I agree. So silencing her for fact-checking liars, politicians who are lying to your face.
At a level that would be incorporated in a national mainstream news media where they have very, very high legal standards with regard to fact-checking.
Yes. They wouldn't let her spew anything that wasn't vetted. I guarantee you, whatever she said, they fact-checked the hell out of it. So what happened here was they got slapped. They got slapped by their oligarch overlords, their puppet masters, who wouldn't allow her to tell the truth. So legacy media, look, you're shooting yourselves in the foot.
Again and again.
You just keep doing it. You continue to shoot yourselves in the foot, and you wonder why your medium is dying.
This is why people seek people like us out.
Yes.
And we're not even journalists.
We're not journalists.
But we at least know right and wrong.
All we're ever going to give you is we're going to give you the straight goods, and yeah, we're going to give you our opinion on things. But it's a facts first program, always and forever. And when you lie, we're going to call you out on it.
Mm-hmm. That's why we read from the articles and show you the clips and whatnot. It's like, this is where we got this stuff. These things happened. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right. Kits and Cubs, I know that some of you are very anxiously waiting our coverage of Mark Carney's housing announcement, which was pretty spectacular and substantive. We were hoping to be able to include it in this show. But again, like I said, there was a lot of content, but we haven't forgotten it. We will bring it there. And of course, juxtapose it with Pierre's plan and what the plan that Mr. Singh, what we talked about today, and then try to give you a bit of a fuller picture. But yes, we heard that you were asking about policy, so we wanted to bring you a little policy. Another tiny little bit of policy that Pierre Poilievre did have the other day. We had mentioned it, but didn't have a chance to go into it. But he had a day where he was focused particularly on crime. For some reason, he went to a sawmill during tariff wars to announce tough on crime, which was really weird. Again, the people that are organizing this stop's not really getting it. But in this policy position, once again, he was talking about imposing maximum life sentences on anyone convicted of 5 or more counts of human trafficking. So I guess the first 4 are free. Importing or exporting 10 or more illegal firearms. So I'm guessing the first 9 are free. And fentanyl trafficking. That's some joking, of course. That doesn't mean the other ones are free. But again, maximum sentences, mandatory sentences in most cases in Canada. That's been its tactic that's already been used by the Conservative governments, one of Harper, and a lot of those got overturned eventually. So empty day, empty announcement, things that look and sound tough, that, a couple of that will be in effect for a little while and probably eventually be overturned in some way. Is what he announced policy-wise. So not really great. And he then had a capital gains reinvestment policy that said would be rocket fuel for the economy. So basically, if you cash in anything that has capital gains, you can avoid the capital gains if you take that money and reinvest it in Canadian corporations or Canadian. So Pierre seems to believe that there's so much money in capital gains that are only taxed at 50% right now from companies that are not Canadian, that people who sell them will, in this market that's volatile, will want to take and reinvest immediately in a Canadian company. And he says that there's so much in that. I remain unconvinced. And at this particular time right now, at least where we are, if people are taking money out of the market, they are sitting on it waiting for a dip to come in and buy.
Definitely.
So not sure if this is there's as much rocket fuel in that tank as he claims there is. But hey, it is an idea, and it's actually not a bad one. Because if you want to take your own money and reinvest it in Canadian companies, maybe get a smaller return as well, because you're not competing on the global international as much as you can. You get a bit of tax, you don't have to pay your capital gains on that one. It's creative. It's creative and it could have some benefit. I'm just not sure it's as big as he says. Right. So there you go, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Now, if you scan that QR code that has just appeared under my chin right there, that thanks to the Ray Girl, will bring you to our pod page. That's podpage.com/the-truenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there to click subscribe, zip, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. You don't even have to open the door and yell its name out into the street. It just comes. Very easy. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, maybe you would like to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, as I believe we're now 15,200, thank you, have done so far. Really appreciate all the people coming to join us. 287. Okay, closing on 300. Thank you so much for joining us during this particular period. Hopefully it's because you are looking for news by Canadians for Canadians and find our product absolutely delightful and informative. So thank you for all of you who have. For those of you who are already there, though, maybe you haven't smashed with our buttons yet. Like, share, and subscribe. Give them a try. Give them a flick. Give them a click. Give them a lick. Hey?
Advertising doesn't hurt either.
Yes, advertising always helps. So particularly now, this is a good time to advertise because people are looking for this content. So yes, there's those numbers do have a little bit of advertising money behind them because
you got to get
we're strategists.
Simple as that. Yeah,
we're strategic. No shame in there. No shame in our game. So yeah, kits and cubs, please go to our YouTube page and click our buttons. And remember, as Kid Elaine often says, if you smash early, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave. There you go. If you would like to help us in yet another way, kits and cubs, well, way you can do that is by helping us with the financial costs that we incur in putting this show together. There are a few of them. And, well, if you like our show and you appreciate our content and would like to encourage us to do more, well, hey, we are definitely grateful for any assistance that you can provide with that, kits and cubs. So please scan that QR code that appeared by Mr. Grizzly's head, or make your way to our coffee page. Now that's coffee spelled ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you can leave us a token of your appreciation, as has a new person for us here who had left us a little something, and I am just looking for it at the moment. For some reason, I've got the page up, but I cannot see the actual supporter at the moment. But hey, I will, since I'm skating, I will look for that later and then happen to get it to you. But yes, somebody left us a nice little tip with a nice little word. So thank you so very much for your support. And like I said, hopefully I'll look at that before the show. Usually it just comes right up, but it has not today. We've got a couple of gremlins in the system. Because democracy is something that you do, kits and cubs, remember that there's a Quebec Liberal leadership race in Manitoba, the PC Liberal leadership, not Liberal, Progressive let's try that again. In Manitoba, the Progressive Conservative leadership vote is coming up on the 26th, and the deadline for your mail-in ballots is April 22nd. And of course, we have a federal election going on. There are some jobs open for at the polling stations. Go to elections.ca for that to get some information on that. And of course, if there's a candidate that you like, some phone banking, knocking on doors, all that kind of stuff, get involved. And most importantly, as Madame May did say, this is an election which voter turnout is going to be very, very important. So please plan your vote. I believe you can already vote early if you go to an actual returning office. I'm not sure advanced polling days have started yet, but you can always start that.
Mail-in ballots are already,
and mail-in ballots can already be ordered. So please go to the Elections Canada site to look at that, and we will get more information on that and being able to bring you more detailed information to close off the shows for you. But time to get ready. Remember, and debates coming up on the 16th and 17th. So make sure that you're stocked up on popcorn. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for the kits and cubs today?
Well, yeah, I guess what I really want to say to hi Lola, hello sweetheart. What I really want to say today is that as we've discussed earlier in the show, how important this election is. Oh my goodness, I have a visitor. How important this election is. Please get out and vote. If you have to bring a neighbor or a friend because they have difficulty getting there, do so. If you can get somebody to get a mail-in ballot, by all means, but encourage everybody to vote, because this is the most important election of our lifetime. Period. Indeed. Nothing more to say about that. That is just simply the case. Lola. Boy.
And I found it here. It's Kit Politicoon who sent us a little something saying, love the show. Can't wait to watch your show every morning. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having found us and for your enthusiastic expression of encouragement.
Appreciate it.
I like that. Carlos taught me how to say that. All right, Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
quick one for you. I want to thank Uncover the News for Sting, because I think this is brilliant. Danielle Smith Productions presents In Sync. And it has Pierre Poilievre and Donald Trump dancing, and Donald Trump saying, and right, and further right. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's perfect. A little bit of news out there, of course.
I really have to go. She's desperate. I'll
okay,
go ahead and wrap it up.
Just the Canadian men's, the World Men's Curling Championships are on, so please watch that. And starting this weekend, Team Canada is set to defend their title at the Women's World Hockey Championships, so tune into that. All right. Have a terrific day, everyone.
See ya.